Hey, this is Brett Gursky. Welcome to another episode of On the List. This is episode number 75. It's April 2025. We are coming to you from the BLEAV network. My guest today is an old friend of mine who's also a very talented actor. He's known for television shows like The Secret Life of the American Teenager and Animal Kingdom, and movies like Emancipation with Will Smith, and now The Accountant 2 with Ben Affleck and John Bernthal, which hits theaters April 25th. Of course, I'm talking about Grant Harvey. What's up, Grant? How's it going?
What's up, dude?
How are you?
It's going good. I'm great. I'm great. It's cool to do this with you.
Yeah, I feel like you're having a nice little moment right now in your career, so I wanted to get
Yeah,
this.
I guess it's a
You know,
moment. I mean, I take it as it comes, but I don't expect anything. But I just always, hope for good things to come out of things, but just kind of going with it and yeah, focusing on the work really.
yeah,
What
exactly.
that's
Um,
my way of not getting nervous or anxious.
yeah, exactly. Hope for the best always. We are on Zoom right now, so the video from this podcast will be available on YouTube and Instagram. So before we get started, just have to quickly catch people up because the podcast was on a little bit of a hiatus. So I was busy with some other projects I was just going to mention. One is a documentary that's out now that people can watch called The House From, directed by Tommy Avalone, who's an awesome documentary director, produced by Ryan Reynolds and myself. And we went back to the famous houses from movies and TV shows like Home Alone, Mrs. Doubtfire, Goonies, Full House, Breaking Bad. We brought the actors from Can't Hardly Wait back to the house where the party was filmed. So it took us 5 years to make, been really well received, hoping to turn it into a TV series next. So people should check that out. It's called The House From.
That's a great
Essentially,
idea. I feel like
it's
that's a
it's fun.
no-brainer. Like that'd be a great show.
It's really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
would
break.
watch that.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Good. We have one viewer so far. Perfect. Buddy, that's Buddy in the background. We'll talk about him too in a minute. So the other two things
Yeah.
that I was working on since we last left off, one's a movie called A Love Like This with Emmanuel Shrieky and Hayes MacArthur. Shot that one in Malibu. And that actually sort of originated on this podcast because Emmanuel was a guest. And I asked her, is there anything you want to do that you haven't done yet? And she was like, I want to do something really, serious and gritty that people are going to say, like, I didn't know she could do that. And so I sent her this script and we turned it into a movie. And we actually got to shoot it. So that was cool. And then another one that I just wrapped in New Jersey, which is my home state, is called Up in the Hills, which was awesome. And my family got to visit the set. My sister brought my nephew and nieces, so that was a dream come true for me. That movie is about a dinner party gone awry, and we've got Dylan Walsh, Ali Coburn, Paris Burrell, Cottrell Guidry, Delaney Williams, Jacob Steinberg wrote the script, and I was put in touch with him, and we made it happen. And actually, I sent you that script. We talked about that movie,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
you were working on a movie with Liam Neeson at the time, so you were unavailable.
Yeah. For months and months and months and all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, we will. When we get to the timeline of your career, we'll talk about that movie, Hotel Tehran. So you and I have known each other for a long time. I actually remember where we first met. It was
You
June
do?
20.
Because I don't
Yes.
remember yesterday.
Okay,
Oh.
I'll tell you. I have a very good memory. I remember everything.
Yeah, you do.
I know where I met
And you're great with
people,
names. It's
names,
insane.
names, dates,
Yeah.
places. So that's why this podcast works well. So we first met. It was June 2011. So we've known each other 14 years. I was doing
Wow.
this project called the Muscle Milk Fitness Retreat. Do you remember this? And
Holy shit, was it the basketball thing?
yeah, so I
Oh yeah.
put together this charity basketball tournament, 3-on-3, where Muscle Milk donated money to the charity of the choice of the winning team. And so I asked a bunch of my actor friends to put together teams of three.
We
And
balled out. We had on our team, it was Greg, Finley, and Alan Evangelista, and both we can all play basketball. So I think we got second.
yeah, exactly. It was, yeah, you guys
Yeah.
were second place, and
Yeah.
Scott Porter was first place.
Which
He
I
had
call bullshit because that dude, Scott Porter, the agent or something that was on that team, and then he had two just out of college NC2A Division One players on his team.
that's right.
Yeah,
He had like real basketball players. That's true.
yeah,
He had his like Friday Night Lights team. You had the Secret Life of the American Teenager
yeah,
team.
yeah.
Helen Lutz had a team. Austin Stoll had a team.
We
Um,
smoked both those guys, both those guys' teams for
yeah,
sure.
you guys crushed it. And so that was 2011 when we met at that event. And then I just from there started inviting you to all the parties and events that I through over the
That's
next
right. Holy crap.
decade. Yeah, so
Yeah, dude.
spent a lot of time together. We got to
Yeah, and we became closer friends in the last, 5 or ish years too.
yeah, and so right,
Yeah.
you in 2017 you did a movie called Thumper, written and directed by our
Yep.
mutual good friend Jordan Ross. And so Jordan,
Yep.
through Jordan we see each other a lot now too. And you and I actually got to work together on a project in 2016, Small Shots. You did an episode of that,
Right.
and I got to produce that, which we'll talk about too. So
I cameoed. Yeah, that's,
you
by the way,
cameoed.
that's funny as hell. You can watch it on YouTube, and it's about my two buddies, Jeremy Luke and Joey Russo, and they play characters called Turbo and Joey, and two guys from Staten Island, and they're both larger than life people,
Totally.
even though
Yeah.
they're both 5'6", and they just have the best personalities, and they're both charismatic and funny as hell. And the whole thing is, you can watch it on YouTube, and it's 1 hour split up into little, like, what, 6 minute, 7 minute episodes, but
Yeah.
it watches like a movie. And it's if you get stoned and watch that, you will laugh your ass off.
Then and it was actually Netflix originally too, which was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Small Shots came out originally
Mm-hmm.
on Netflix, which was awesome. So a lot of people
Yeah.
got to see it. And now I get to my favorite fun fact about you is that I helped you find your dog, Chunk.
Yeah.
And that's like I'm
Yep.
so proud of that. Whenever I help someone like find their dog, it's a huge badge of honor. So we were out, I think it was at Harriet's one night with Jordan Ross, and I was throwing a weekly
Yeah.
party there. And I was talking about my dog Buddy, who I adopted in March 2016, and this was probably I think 2019.
This was definitely it was December 2019. Yeah.
2018, right?
Tw-
You got her in
28. Oh yeah,
January.
2018. December 2018. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I went back
Because I
and
got
looked,
her in
and
January.
exactly. And so I went back to our DMs because I found a post. It was Dogs Without Borders. And it was like 10 puppies that were available for adoption. And she was the first one. And I DM'd you the post, and you wrote back, I want that one. And I was like, which
Well, you
one?
you sent me, it was a whole litter of
Yeah.
puppies,
Yeah.
and so I really just went off of the photo, and
Yep.
she is, where is she? But her, yeah, because I was trying to get a dog, and every time I would apply to get a dog, to rescue a dog, they'd be, oh, someone else got the dog first, and then so I was like, so I had to like call in favors, and then you came through and got me, yeah, and so I just picked her from the picture, and she ended up being the best dog,
Oh, yeah. You
She's
knew the one you wanted right away. It was
for
the
sure,
first
and
one.
she's amazing.
Yeah, that was awesome. Like I went back and read our exchange, like when you picked her out, and then I remember I went to Fiji for like a week, and I was in Fiji, and you texted me a selfie of you and your dog, and I was like, oh my
Yeah,
god, he got her, and that was like
so
six
damn cute.
six years ago. Yeah, that was
She's 6 years old now.
yeah,
Yeah,
February 2019. So that's cool. Chunko, we got to get Chunko and Buddy together so
I know.
they can hang.
Next time we're at Jordan's or something, you got to
Okay,
bring
yeah,
Buddy.
we can do that for sure.
He'll
And
love that.
no, he has his dog too,
I
Chewy.
know.
We
Two
can have a
little
little
kids, and his
dog
dog,
party.
Petey.
Yeah, exactly. A little dog play date. So yeah, that was 6 years ago, but it doesn't feel like 6 years because there was a pandemic, there was a double strike, there was a lot going on. So it almost feels like it was like a year ago. But time is flying very
Thank
fast.
God we had these emotional support animals for that period of time. It's
Totally.
been so rocky since 2020.
I know. Could you imagine not having a dog during quarantine? Like that
Oh
was
no, man, that would have been bad.
that was the best. So, okay, so before we go back and get the story of how you made it in Hollywood, because this is like my own version of Inside the Actors Studio, I'm trying to pick up where James Lipton left off. Let's first
Love
talk
that
about,
show.
yeah, it's the best, and there's a void now without him. So I'm trying
There
to
is.
trying
And
to fill.
it's hard to find the episodes too. Someone should buy all of them from the college or whatever and put them on their platform
Oh,
because people
that's
would binge the shit out of that.
That's a great idea. I know, and
Yeah.
what I like about Inside the Actor Studio and the same with this podcast is that it's evergreen because once an actor shares with you the story of how they made it, that's always the story of how they made it. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not timely or whatever. You can
And
go
it's the
back.
most interesting part about everybody. I mean, when I listen to Howard Stern, the most interesting part is whether it's a musician or an actor, it's the most interesting part is how they got in and how they broke in and like all the pitfalls and everything and how hard it was or how easy it was, whatever it is.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I started this because I was like, I want to get my friends' stories documented, and like, if it inspires someone else to try it, if they see how, everyone else, most people start out as like a kid in a small town somewhere with a big dream, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
they somehow end up in Hollywood. So, okay, before we talk about your story of how you made it, let's first talk about your current project. I mentioned it before, The Accountant 2, starring you and Ben Affleck and John Bernthal. It's the highly anticipated sequel to the 2016 movie The Accountant. It's from Amazon and MGM Studios, also Artist Equity, which is Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's new studio. Directed by
Hmm.
Gavin O'Connor, who directed
Hmm.
Tumbleweeds, Miracle, Pride and Glory, Warrior, which is
Warrior,
amazing. Yeah, Warrior's incredible.
The Way
Uh,
Back,
the
which
Way
is
Back with Ben
a very
Affleck,
underrated movie. It's
totally. And
excellent though.
The Original Accountant, Jane
Yeah.
Gargan,
Yeah.
and the movie stars Ben Affleck as Christian Wolf, the accountant, John Bernthal as his brother Braxton, Cynthia Day Robinson as Mary Beth Medina, and J.K. Simmons as Ray King. Those four are reprising their roles from the first movie. You join part two as Cobb. Anyone who's seen the trailer knows that Cobb is the bad guy.
Me and Daniela Pineda,
Yes, yes,
who's great in this too. Yeah.
are the villains exactly.
We're the two assassins. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not a secret. Anyone who's seen that trailer, you have a nice prominent shot of you trying to
Yeah,
kill
honestly, that
one of
was the
these
first
characters.
time I've been in a big studio movie trailer.
Oh,
And
really?
I guess you don't think about this that often, but going to movies my whole life, my favorite part of going to a movie is usually the trailers. I
Right.
love the trailers because it's just like a highlight reel for a film, and that's when the actors in the movies look the coolest, and it's all these great moments. And so to see myself in a trailer of a really good movie in a movie theater was definitely one of the little quiet, private highlights of my career so far because
I
it's a
love
little
that.
thing that you kind of daydream about growing up, and then and to be in a trailer, you
Oh
know.
my God, I love that. Yeah, especially yeah, you go to the theater on the big screen and there you are. It's just like
Yeah,
another.
I went and bought a ticket for an Avengers movie, whatever Avengers is out, and just to see the trailer on the big screen, and
That's
then
cool. I love
I
that.
may or may not have left the movie early.
As long as you saw the trailer, you got
Yeah,
mission accomplished. But yeah, that's
yeah,
that's like one of those boxes that you check off like on your bucket list,
uh-huh, yeah, it really is. Yeah,
That's cool. Yeah, Jordan and I went to see Drop, and it came on before Drop, and we were taking pictures of the screen. It's
yeah,
cool. It's exciting.
it
And
is.
so the big premiere was last week, which I have to mention because it was at the iconic Chinese Theater on Hollywood Boulevard, one of the most iconic movie theaters in the world, if not the most iconic. I got to go. I actually have my Accountant 2 popcorn
Oh,
box
nice.
right here. Did you get one of those?
I had one. I think my mom kept a bunch of them, but
She did.
at AMC this weekend when it opens, the popcorn boxes are going to be Airstream trailers
Oh,
somehow.
no way. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
was. I have all my swag. This was the ticket.
yeah,
It was awesome. I got to go. Obviously, I brought our friend Jordan because it made sense.
yeah,
And you brought your mom. You also brought the Navy SEAL who trained you for the movie. So talk
yeah.
about what it was like to attend the premiere at the Chinese theater.
It was great, and I had to. It was a lot harder than you would think to get a 10-year long Navy SEAL a ticket for a movie, but I eventually got him a ticket and his girlfriend a ticket, and got him into the after party, and that's something that he's or her have never really experienced, you know. So I was happy to do that because he took time out of his life to train me out in the desert on a sniper rifle, and he didn't have to do that. And so I was like, hey, if I can get you into the premiere, man, I will. Are you down to go? And he was like, hell yeah, that would be great. And so I did everything I could to get him there, and he came up and he kind of made it like a little 1 day vacation with his girlfriend, and they got a room nearby, and they had a great time. And I mean, that's someone I'd rather take to something like that than most other people because shit, 10 years serving for us. I'm a big fan of that, and him and those guys, all those combat veterans and stuff. Yeah,
Oh yeah, and he trained you for this movie, right? So he got to
yeah,
see his work on the big screen.
He did, yeah. We had a great tech too, Tyler Gray, who's Delta, ex-Delta, and with him being on set and showing me his little nuances on the long gun, plus what Ben had taught me on the long gun, it was extremely helpful to make all that stuff unconsciously. So you're doing it just second nature while you're acting. It's you kind of have to have it ingrained in you in order to forget about it. Because
Yeah.
the real life guys, they don't think about it. It's all muscle memory, and so they solely focused on the aspects of working a long gun that are relayed in the movie, that you see in the movie. I didn't do anything that was outside of the aesthetic of making it look right.
What did he have to say when he watched the movie on the big screen? And what did your mom say? What did your guest
Well,
say?
that was the second time my mom has seen the movie with me. She saw it at South by Southwest when it world premiered with me, and
That's right. What was that like, South by Southwest?
it was fun. It was uncharacteristically cold in Austin and windy. So we all had these outfits that were not warm, but because we didn't know it was gonna be cold. But my mom loved it. She loves everything that I do, but to be in such a good movie, she was very proud, and yeah, and Austin's fun too, and I have family there, so it was a fun quick trip. And then I think she enjoyed the movie the second time more at the LA premiere, because I feel like any good movie is better the second time you see it, because you're so overstimulated when you see a screening for the first time that you don't fully comprehend everything in the movie. But when you watch it the second time, all of a sudden it's like you're seeing it very clearly in every aspect of it. And so I think she enjoyed it more and was able to watch it in a more relaxed way. Um, and yeah, she could watch. She rented out a movie theater in the town that she lives in.
Oh,
So
I
this
love it.
weekend I'm gonna go visit her, and she's got pretty much all of her friends in the town coming to this theater, and so it's like the most mom thing ever. But so there's no way I'm missing that.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, hometown premiere. I mean, it is. It's like when you succeed, your parents succeed too. It's like
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
family thing. Oh, that's so nice.
absolutely.
Are you going to surprise them, or they know that you're coming?
No, she knows, and so does everybody, all of her friends. It's like I don't like having lots of attention put on me, as crazy as that might sound, because I'm an actor. But I really just I love the work, and I love cinema, and but the whole having everyone paying attention to me all at once is it's I'm grateful for it when it happens, but I'm also a little uncomfortable with it, and kind of force my way through it.
Yeah, you might have to do a little announcement before the movie, or maybe a little Q&A after. They're
Oh, well,
gonna.
should we have a red carpet? I was like, Mom, no, absolutely not. We're not having red carpet. Like that's a step too far. Like, let's just leave it at the screening, and that's it. I'm gonna have to have the same conversation over and over and over again for about 7 hours. So like, I'm
Exactly.
like, no red carpet, but I'll be there and I'll have a smile on my face and I'll be game for it.
Exactly. That'll be so fun. Oh, that's going to be awesome. That's this
Yeah,
weekend,
it'll be
opening
this
weekend.
this weekend. Yeah, it's Saturday. It's in her little town
How
that she
cool.
lives.
How
Yeah,
nice. It's funny because I passed on my love of movies to my nephew and nieces. And so
good.
I told them about the premiere when I was going. And then my nephew hadn't seen the original Accountant because it was, 2016. He was too young to see it back then.
Yeah.
So he went back and watched the original. Now he's 15 with my brother in law.
Oh,
And
he probably loved it.
he loved it. And so now he's like excited for the second one. So they're prepped and ready for part two.
And you
They're
would agree
excited.
too. I think it's pretty obvious to say for anyone who's seen it that, not taking away from the first one, but it's substantially better than the first one.
It's
I mean,
bigger. Yeah, it's almost like a
bigger,
different
it's
genre almost. It's like a bigger action movie.
a little bit, yeah. It's because you put John Bernthal into the mix in a more integral way. Like I don't want to use the term buddy comedy because it's not a buddy comedy, but there is that aspect between John and Ben's characters of like, and it's actually this Accountant 2 is as much a comedy as it is a drama
It is
and
really
action
funny.
movie, and
John,
that's what's great about Gavin's directing is I think all directors will watch it and agree with this, that he walks this line between going from you're laughing your ass off to a split second later, you're on the edge of your seat, gripped with drama. And that's not easy to do seamlessly like that. I mean, there's an element of human trafficking in Accountant 2, and there's nothing funny in any way about that. And yet he goes from dealing with that to you suddenly laughing your ass off, and I think that is such a directing feat that and it's seamless, so people don't really realize that right out of the gate. But that's extremely hard to do, and I'm sure you can attest for that. Like
Oh
that's
yeah,
that's not easy.
yeah, because it's like I guess on the surface you would describe it as an action movie, but it's this brother drama. There's comic relief. John Bernthal is so funny. Like you're laughing most of the time at the way he
Man,
interacts with Ben Affleck. He like steals all the scenes in a comic relief kind of way.
it's the
But
John Bernthal show for sure. I mean,
yeah, it's a pretty
Ben's
amazing.
performance is excellent and also underappreciated. It's not an easy part to play,
Not at all. Yeah.
and I think a lot of actors might really fuck that up, but Ben does it seamlessly, so you don't even realize how good of a performance he's giving because it's so damn good. And then John comes in and he contrasts Ben's performance so well that it's just this amazing symmetry and chemistry between the two, and it's like this covalent bond like flowing through the movie all the way to
Totally.
the end, and it's constantly stimulating, like because of the fact that you're laughing your ass off, and then you're on the edge of your seat, and then you're laughing your ass off again, and then you're getting a little emotional, and then you're laughing your ass off again. You never get bored with it. I mean, I feel like it could have gone another hour, and people would be fine with it.
Totally. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
mix of genres. It's definitely if you like the first one, you'll definitely like the
for
second
sure.
one. It like takes everything from the first one and elevates it. I think it took them, what did they say, 8, 9 years to bring it
Yeah,
up.
it took him almost 10 years, Gavin, because he had trouble getting it done at the last studio it was at, and then he Amazon was interested in MGM, and they let him run with it, and they gave him absolute control too. And I think this is a result of when you let a director dictate a singular vision, you get good products. I mean, movies will come out of that formula that maybe you won't like, but you'll never say that that was a bad movie. I think a singular vision is the key to making a good movie. And with Gavin, it was as singular as it gets. Um, the team was amazing because even the producers like Lynette, she is a good enough producer that she knew that if she hires the right director, she doesn't have to worry about anything from that point anymore. Like she just brings him in and like lets him go. And Gavin just had seamless control, and he made a great movie because of it. I think people should take that lesson to heart. Like, trust the
100%.
director, hire a director that you can trust, and that shit'll be good.
Yeah, Gavin made a speech before the movie at the premiere, and he basically said that Artist Equity, which is Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's studio, they gave him creative control. They were like, "Go make your movie," and so he said not a lot of places would do that, and so the movie definitely
No,
benefits from that. That's really
yeah,
cool. Okay, so let's talk about how you got the role. Because
sure.
I don't even know that story exactly. I just remember it was announced and I was like, oh my God, you're going to be in The Accountant too. So how did you get the role? Was it a regular audition? Was it some sort of offer?
Yeah, no, it was no offer, but it was a cool story. It is a cool story because I just got a regular audition, and I did see that it was The Accountant too. It had a code name at the time, but I saw it was Gavin O'Connor directing, and Gavin was one of my favorite contemporary directors before I ever got that audition or before I ever was in the movie. And I truly love him as one of like a current director. Still probably hasn't even hit his prime yet, and so I was like, all right, I'm gonna fucking crush this audition. So I went and because my character's a sniper, I went to Walmart, and it was the only place I could find BB guns that is I don't understand this, how they make BB guns that look like real sniper rifles. I feel like that's an insanely bad idea, but whatever. It worked for me because they were there at Walmart. So I bought like this $100 BB gun that kind of looks like a sniper rifle, and I taped a bunch of shit to it with electric tape to make it look modified. And so the one scene is me on a gun the whole time talking into a radio, and then the next scene's a dialogue scene. And so I did it, sent it in, and then got notes from Gavin via casting, hey, do it again. And Gavin says to swing for the fence with your choices, like make crazy big choices. But that was it. There was no specificity with the choices. He goes, just go big, make these choices huge. And so I did. And so instead of the first tape I did, the second tape, I changed my voice, which is the voice you hear in the movie, and I slicked my hair back. I changed my wardrobe, and went for it, and sent that in. And then I found out that, which was the worst thing you could have told me, because that it was between me and like four other guys, and I'm like, ah, I'm just pacing around my place for like
Right.
5 days. And then I get another email from my people that says, Gavin wants to meet with you. And so I don't know if like those other four guys, mystery guys, I don't know if they're also having that meeting. And so I'm like, whatever. I go to the meeting. It's at the sound stages where we shot in Center Studios downtown. And I go into the production office, and there's no sign-in list. So I don't see evidence of other guys coming in for meetings, and everyone's being super nice to me. And Gavin walks out, and they say don't meet your heroes. But first of all, Gavin exceeded all expectations, and I'm glad I met that hero, because he's way more awesome than I ever could have even imagined.
That's so
And
cool.
I love the dude. He's my homie now. And so I go into the meeting with him, and I'm sitting there, and like it's like 30 minutes into the meeting, and we're talking, and then all of a sudden he starts using future tense and including me in that a little bit, like, so when we do this, we're gonna do it this way, and like you'll be like doing, and in my head I'm like, did I get this? Is he giving me this part? And then like about an hour in, he finally says, he's like, so you want to do this? And I'm like, fuck yeah. And then we just slapped hands, and he's like, let's get to work. And
How
that was the first
cool.
time I've ever been hired like that. Like it felt like I got hired like a big shot, like the director, this fucking awesome director, hired me to my face. And so I tried to act as cool as I could, and keep my composure. And I'm like, all right, talk soon. Deal will come through next week. And as soon as I got in the elevator, I fucking, fist pumped and kind of screamed. And as soon as I got out of the parking garage, I called my mom, and we cried a little bit, just because it's always great to work with a director you admire that much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was a good moment.
That is one of those moments. Yeah, I always
I'll never
picture.
forget it.
Oh, that's so cool. What a great way to hear it in person. So many times it's just a phone call.
Oh, I know. It's usually your reps, telling you, which is just as great. But that was it was just beautiful and amazing to be hired by a guy I admire so much to my face
I
in
love
such a
that
casual way.
story. I love that story. How cool.
It was
How
cool.
fun. Maybe he
It
just
was.
wanted to see how you vibe in person or
I
something.
think so. Yeah, I think so. That, and he wanted to make sure that I was a collaborator, that I'm directable, that And then the thing he told me is a thing. One of the things he liked about my second audition was, he goes, "You had no vanity.
Mm.
You didn't care that you weren't looking good in certain, and you were just cut loose. You were just cut raw, and I think he appreciates that. And so I was really glad I did that and made those crazy choices, because most of those choices are what you see in the movie, like the voice, the slick back hair, and yeah, and the crazy horrible facial hair, all that.
That's a great note, actually. I'm going to take that with me. If you like an actor and you want to see how far they can take it, tell them to swing for the fences.
Yeah, make big choices, because then I
Make
think
big
you
choices.
also see, because you can make crazy big choices that don't work for a character, but if I think if an actor is capable of making huge choices that still are in line with the character, then I think that shows their imagination and what they're going to bring to the part. And yeah, I do think it's a good exercise, even if you aren't going to ultimately use those big choices. See that they're capable of them, and then that, okay, there's a range that I could work with directing wise here.
100%. And they're willing to take chances, too. How
Yeah,
cool. That's
he
awesome.
gave me a huge opportunity with that. He could have hired anybody.
That
And
is so cool.
I'll never forget that, and I'll always be grateful for him for choosing me for sure.
How cool. I love it.
Yeah,
So you find out you're getting the movie, you do the fist bumps in the
yeah.
elevator. Like that's the great moment that you wait for. Like, as an actor, as a writer, as a director, someone's interested in you or your script or whatever it is, and you just have those silent moments of so many years of work. Like, and you're just like, yes, because it's
I
not,
would say,
it's,
yeah, in an acting career, I think some of the best moments are ones that are relatively private, you
yep,
know?
yep.
Um, uh, I got a call from Tim Blake Nelson the other day, and because the next movie I'm doing is with him, he's directing,
Wow.
and when he called me, I won't say what it was, but because that would be ridiculous, but he's having a conversation with me, but within the conversation I'm having with him, he's giving me some of the best compliments I've ever had without knowing he was doing it. You
Mm.
know, he was just being conversational, here I am listening to Tim, who's a wonderful actor and a wonderful writer and a wonderful director, and he went to Juilliard, and he's such a smart man. And to hear him saying certain things, I was like, holy fuck, he has no idea that he's giving me such high compliments right now. He's just assuming that I don't know, this is just commonplace, and yeah, and it's those moments that you hold close to the heart and carry around with you, because God knows there's a lot of rejection in our business, and a good batting average is you book 1 in 10 projects that you're considered for.
Oh yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah, in baseball that you would be sent to the minors.
That's right. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's not like a stable job where like most people have a 9 to 5. They wake up, they know where they're going to be every day, Monday to Friday, and they go to their office and they come home, and it's just like this is literally like, what's my next job going to be? Is it going to
Yeah.
be something I am proud of? I'm going to have fun with? Is it going to be a good group of people? It's kind of, but that's what makes it so exciting too. It's like,
Yeah, it does. It keeps your life exciting for sure, and you're just constantly in a state of applying for jobs.
mhm.
You get really good at applying for jobs.
But it's also like you keep winning these little lotteries. It's like, oh,
Yep.
you get to do the Gavin O'Connor movie next. It's like you don't know a month
And I swear to
before.
God, it never gets old. Like,
Yeah.
every time you get hired, it's just as good as the first time you got hired, because I mean, I feel like most actors would agree with that. I don't
hmm
think I'm talking out of school to say that. And yeah, and that's what keeps you sharp, it's just like, yeah, it keeps things exciting if you look at it in a positive way, because what other way is there to look at it? Like,
Exactly. And so
yeah,
because it was The Accountant too, you knew the cast because you knew who was in the original. So you were with Ben Affleck, who won Oscars for Best Original Screenplay for Good Will Hunting, Best Picture for Argo. For me, I remember when he and Matt Damon won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. They were these like two young guys from
kids,
Boston.
yeah.
That was such a like life changing moment to watch that on TV because I was in high school. I was a senior in high school, and I loved Good Will Hunting, and I loved that these two guys wrote the movie that was their big break. They like wrote themselves into Hollywood,
It
and
was, yeah.
like the Oscar was just the icing on the cake. Like they had already gotten everything they wanted out of the movie, and then they also get this Oscar. So I always thought of that. I was like, if these two kids from Boston can do it, and like you just dream of that moment. Like everyone, I still want that moment, and I still think of that moment.
Yeah.
Those two won, and they had their moms in the audience, and so I've gotten to meet Matt Damon a few times since then, and I've talked to him about it
My
a
mom
lot.
actually talked to Matt Damon at length twice at the South by Southwest premiere.
Nice.
And no, it was funny because he's doing the Odyssey right now. So he's got this giant beard and long hair. So I get a text. My mom took a picture out of People magazine like 3 days later. But she's back home. I'm home. And it's a picture of Matt Damon and Ben Affleck at that premiere, and she goes, "Holy shit! I didn't know I was talking to Matt Damon." Like, I'm like,
No.
how? First of all, I don't care if he's got a beard and long hair. How do you not know that that's Matt Damon? And she said the funniest thing. So she's like, has two conversations with him. And the second time, she's in the theater when we're all still out on the carpet and shit. And she says to him and kind of herself, like, "Oh my God, this is so incredible," or this is so special. And he goes, "Yeah, it really is." And then she leans into him and she goes, and and it's a little more special for me because my son's in this movie.
He probably
And then
loved
Matt
it.
Damon is like, oh, and I think it's in that moment he probably realized that mom had no idea who he was. And so it was funny for her to realize after the fact that that's who she was talking to the whole time.
Oh my God, that's a great story. He's probably thinking to himself, he's not even in the movie. That's so funny. I
I
love
mean, he's obviously a very nice guy for,
He really is. It's
I think
funny.
yeah, he treats everyone exactly the same no matter who they are. And I think that's a
Hmm.
good mark of character.
Totally.
I mean, I know what Will Smith did with the whole Chris Rock thing. That sucked. But I noticed that with him right out of the gate. We had so many extras and shit on Emancipation and they're all about the demographic of dude that has grown up watching Will Smith.
Right.
And I felt a little uncomfortable at first when these background performers, who by the way, they earned the right to be called background performers in Emancipation
Hmm.
because they were really giving it their all and they knew that it meant something. They knew they were representing real people that really went through hell,
Yeah.
and a reason that their morale was the way that it was because Will. And so it's impossible for a 30-something-year-old dude who's 10 feet away from Will Smith in between takes to not say something to him.
Yeah.
And so at first I get uncomfortable because Will's doing this like intense character and dialect, heavy pathology, huge responsibility to play a person who is really enslaved, and yet he would be as present and connected to them as he was Antoine Fuqua, as he was his fellow cast, as he was everyone I saw him interact with. There was no difference in the way he treated them. And I think that's a huge mark of character in a person. That's a good way to read a person really quick.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's a major thing on a set to treat every single person equally, from
Yeah.
the director to the everybody to the
Or just
assistants
in life.
in life. Yeah, no, of
Yeah.
course, definitely
Yeah.
in life, definitely
Yeah.
in life.
And the
Um,
set is a microcosm of that.
Totally. Yeah, I used to joke like in high school, like I'm gonna move to LA and become best friends with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. So now whenever I've met Matt or like posted a picture with Matt Damon, like I always joke like my best friend Matt underneath. But it's like they know because they were these in Will Smith too in Philadelphia. Like they were these
No.
young kids growing up in these cities that were not Hollywood, thinking
No.
like I want to make it one day, and then they made it. So of course you want to be nice to people. I would hope, or
Yeah.
remember where you came from. I guess is what it is.
Yeah.
The other Oscar winner in Accountant 2 is J.K. Simmons, who won Best Supporting Actor for Whiplash. Without giving anything away, because I don't want to give any spoilers away, you and J.K. Simmons have an interaction in the movie that sets everything in motion, which is
Yeah.
really cool. You and Oscar winner J.K. Simmons up there.
Well, I think in the trailer, they make it pretty clear. It's no secret that he dies.
Okay.
I mean, it's in the trailer. It's in multiple trailers. So I feel like I don't have
You
I
can
won't
talk
say how
about
it
it.
happens,
Right.
but it's crazy. I didn't even meet JK until the premiere
No
because
way.
even though we're in the same scene, my character is a good distance away from him. So we didn't work on the same day.
Interesting.
And so at the premiere, I saw him, and I think when I initially met him, he didn't know who I was, and then it dawned on him by the end of the movie. And then my mom really wanted a picture with him, so she got the picture with him, and then I think it was clear to him who I was because I guess I look a lot different than I do in the movie, and so yeah, it was cool to finally meet him and shake his hand and be
That's
like, hey,
really
good
cool.
job, hey, I'm a big fan, and like, he's like, hey, good job, you did a great job.
See,
So
that's movie magic because I thought you guys filmed the same day. That's so interesting.
he filmed one. They shot his end on no pun intended. They shot his end on one day, and then the next day they shot my end.
That's so
Doing
interesting.
nights in downtown LA on a Friday and Saturday when the bars let out, there were people driving by screaming and yelling
That's
and shit, banging out
wild.
windows and stuff.
Wait,
Yeah.
let's talk about that. So you got to film in Los Angeles, where it's a
hmm
big deal because they're trying to bring production back to LA. You guys filmed from, I think it was like March 2024 to August 2024. What was that like
I think
filming?
we filmed until mid-June.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
think it was a 3-month shoot.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I might
And
be
so you
wrong,
get
but yeah, I think we did though. Yeah.
you got to live at home, which is rare on movie sets. Usually
hmm
you get sent around the world.
hmm
How was that filming in LA? What was that like?
I mean, the way things have gone for me, I'm usually being sent out of town for jobs, and which is fine. I actually there's some benefits to it. Like it's easier to disappear into a part and focus on a part when you're not in your where you live.
Interesting.
Um, for example, like small things, like I usually leave my dog with my agent who I've been with the same agent for 16 years, 17 years, and so he's family. And then his wife is my dog's favorite person, and so there's zero guilt there. So when I'm on location somewhere, it's like I get back to the hotel room, I can focus, and there's really no distraction. There's no one there that I know, that everyone knows I'm gone. So there's kind of a stillness that helps me focus a little more. But when I'm shooting here, but it's also great because the benefits of that is life continues on, and you still have the people that you're around,
Hmm.
and you have your dog, and you have all this, and you can audition for other things in a quality way because we all audition from home now, and I have my audition room, and yeah. So but it was crazy because it was a very long shoot, but and then I'm intermittently throughout the entire movie. So, you shoot movies based on locations,
Right.
and so there would be sometimes like I remember at one point there was like 3 weeks, almost a month that went by before I shot again.
Wow.
So gaps like that in your shooting schedule, it's you got to sustain keep the character just below the surface for long amounts of time, and then go back into it as if you were just on set yesterday. So that was tricky. It's easy to deal with, but it's tricky, a little tricky.
Right. Yeah. Because there's a big push right now to try to get things back here. Because you would think
It's so
Hollywood,
dumb, yeah.
yeah, you would think Hollywood had all the production, and it just doesn't. There's like tax credits that I'm always trying to explain to people in other states, and so it was
Yeah,
it was nice to see a movie that took place in LA
I agree.
actually shot in LA. Like I recognized all the streets and the landmarks and the buildings, and
Yeah,
I
we
was like,
shot in downtown,
that's
we
real.
shot in
Yeah.
Long Beach, and then we
Hmm.
shot in Santa Clarita. That's Juarez, Mexico.
Oh, nice. Oh, interesting. Oh,
Yeah,
that's cool. Oh, really
yeah.
cool. Right. It looked like Mexico for sure. You guys actually filmed a big scene they did at the Cowboy Palace Saloon in Chatsworth when Ben is doing the line dancing. And I love that because we shot our Malibu movie. We did a scene there with Emmanuel Shrieky and Hayes MacArthur dancing. It's
Dude, it
supposed
was
to be
crazy.
Malibu. I
It was
love that
crazy
location.
because the show I just finished, we shot a scene out at the Cowboy Palace Saloon, and I had never heard of the place. Um,
That's so funny.
and and I'm like, this place is dope. Like it's so cowboy, and there's
Yep.
like boots and everything. And then I see the accountant too, and I'm like, holy fuck, that's the Cowboy Palace. I was just there shooting, and I had no idea that this is where they shot the line dancing shit. And I'm like,
That's
I know where this is. It was so funny. I
wait.
I guess
That's so funny. I had the exact same reaction. I was like, Cowboy
yeah,
Palace Saloon, because I thought we like found this little cowboy bar in Chatsworth for our
that's what I
movie.
thought.
I didn't realize it's in major movies. That's so funny.
And an upcoming Amazon MGM show.
Oh,
It's so funny.
that's cool. Yeah, they're definitely doing a nice side business of renting that place out as a location. And
Yeah, because
it's
it's
also
pretty
so
lucrative.
yeah, and it's also unique. It's like we used it as it's supposed to be a bar in Malibu, but it is like almost like a little iconic Los Angeles history kind of
It's
place.
very authentic and it has a
Yeah,
feel to it that you're not in LA for sure.
exactly. And so we talked about Gavin O'Connor, the director. So now you're on set with him. What was he like as a director? What was the experience like?
Amazing. He's an actor's director. I think he's done a little acting in his own movies, and I know from knowing him now that he loves cinema. He's one
Mm,
of those directors who's a pure cinephile. Like
I
he's
love that.
seen every movie, and he spent his youth, like in college days, just going to movies whenever he could. So he's got this huge wealth of cinema knowledge in his head, in his back pocket that he could pull from.
Yeah.
And then it was the first time in my career where I got to do 15, 16 takes of a close up.
Oh, wow.
And I will say that there's choices and discoveries that you can only make when a director gives you that opportunity. And
Hmm.
he'd come in after doing a take all excited, and then he would have a new idea and he'd give it to me. And then at about take 10, 11, you're making choices and discovering things that no matter how prepared you are, no matter no matter how much you explore the script and the possibilities of choices that you would never find unless you were on take 10 with the pressure of actually doing a take on a motion picture. And so with that pressure and you fully present and trying and doing your best, you discover these things that otherwise you would never be able to discover. And I think that's the benefit of a big budget and a big film or a big show, because you could do that many takes. And
Right.
not everyone has that luxury. I mean, most times you don't have that luxury. And so to have that luxury, it was amazing for me as an actor. And then of course Gavin's just amazing. He's just he's a real one, man.
Is that so? Is the multiple takes? I mean, yes, that has to do with having the budget to do that. But
Yeah.
is it also because Gavin is he a perfectionist? Like, did he like to do a lot of takes? Did he know that you could get it to a place that he wanted to see?
I think it was circumstantial based on the scene and what's happening for sure.
Hmm.
Once he knows he has it, then he'll move on. But when it's the type of scene where he's like he knows that there's things that might surprise him, he
Hmm.
continues to look for it.
That's cool.
And like every time he came up to me after a take, he was more excited about this new idea and more and new things were coming to him. And then it fucking motivates you as an actor too, because when the director's walking up to you, you know it's not to say that you did anything that he didn't like. It's like, I like that, but now try this, and
Right,
now hold
right.
back on this, and now do do do, and then all of a sudden you're just collaborating with the man, and that's again something that makes a good movie. It's just the director directing the actor and them collaborating and elevating a script that's already good.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, if I could do every movie with Gavin, I would.
Well, you got to do another one with him for sure. Yeah, he seems like an awesome guy, and his movies are always great. But he just like the way he got emotional in his speech before the premiere. I filmed it. I'll give you a copy of his speech. It was like a 10-minute speech, and he got really choked up because it's
Yeah.
really. I mean, yes, it's the movie business and it's like seems glamorous and all this stuff, but it's so much hard work goes into these things and like the blood, sweat, and tears that people don't see. You just see the finished product, the polished final cut.
Oh, I know. It's like
But
they see the premieres and stuff, and it does all that is very glamorous. But like the reality is that
a lot of
you
work.
spend most of your time in sweatpants, losing sleep, and agonizing over micro beats and quarter pages and da da
Yeah.
da and there's very little that's glamorous about it other than the finished product.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he said, like he said, this movie's been my baby, and now I'm handing it off to the world, and I trust, Amazon and MGM and Artist Equity, like it couldn't be in better hands, and now it's off to the world, and now he just sits back and kind of watches the world receive it, which is such an interesting.
Also, I think there's something to be said about just how he is as a man. Like, when he's in a meeting with you, he's obviously proven himself. He can make good movies, and
Hmm.
but when you're in his presence, he's so clearly a top-notch man that
Hmm.
I think he makes it easier for executives or studio people or whatever it is to trust him.
Right.
He's like, I got this, and they're like, I believe you.
Yeah.
and, and and
Exactly.
and so he goes and does it. And it's another thing about him. It's like he's as in touch with he's vulnerable and in touch with his emotions and all that. And yet he's this very masculine dude, but he's just a fucking good dude. He's a great role model, I gotta say, man.
I love
I got
that.
a man crush on him till the day I die.
I love it. Yeah, he seems like such an awesome dude. I look up to him too. He does great work. The work speaks for itself.
Hmm.
And so, talk about working with that cast. Like, what can you say about some of those actors that you got to be on screen with?
Well, with John Bernthal, I had actually met him before because the movie Thumper that Jordan directed, the
Right.
producers of that also produced that same year a movie that John's in called Sweet Virginia, I think, something like that,
Hmm.
and real good movie. And so we were at a lot of the same press things in New York at Tribeca, and so first time I met him, another dude who's in Thumper, Daniel Weber, he was in The Punisher. And so he was like, Grant, come meet John.
That's
And
right.
then John was like, John Bernthal. And I learned in that moment that whenever you meet John, tell him your last name. I'm like, Grant. And he's like, what's your last name? And I'm like, Grant Harvey. And he goes, nice to meet you. And then I have this tattoo on my arm right here. It says best job I ever had. And it's because that tattoo is the last movie my brother and I saw with our father in a theater was the movie Fury. And my dad, being a dad, loved World War II movies, loved tanks, all that shit. And as dudes, we all love that shit. And so,
Mhm.
but we grew up running a pizza place, my dad's pizza place. And so by the time, and that line's a staple of the movie. And so by the time we left the theater, we were just saying it to each other, best job I ever had, best job I ever had. And kind of referring to the pizza place. And that was, our best job we ever had. That was our tank, whatever. And so when I meet John, I'm like, John, look. And he goes, no way, dude. And he takes a picture of it. And I tell him the backstory of it. And then he tells me the backstory of it and how he ad-libbed that line.
No way.
Because we're a bunch of actors in this tank doing this huge movie. And it was like really hot in France in August when they were shooting the in the tank stuff. And so he kind of said it ironically. But then it becomes a staple of the film where David Ayers is being also a great director. He has every character in the tank say it by the end of the movie, best job I ever had. And so there was this cool back and forth between him, why he said it and why I have it on my arm. So then I'm in the hair and makeup trailer on Counting Two, and it was the first time I had ran into John, and he comes in the hair and makeup, and he goes, "Hey, what's up, man, John?" I'm like, he's like John Bernthal, and I'm like Grant Harvey, and I'm like, "Hey, dude, look." And I show him the tattoo, and he goes, "What?" And it was like, that's the dude who showed me the tattoo back in 2018 at Tribeca, and now I
No
was doing a movie
way.
with him.
That's like
Yeah,
serendipitous. That's
it
amazing.
was a little kismety for sure.
Wow.
And so he's great, great dude, obviously. Ben was super professional, generous, as an actor, like very happy to read off camera lines and communicate how to make the scene work better and all of these things, and also great at taking direction because Ben's a great director,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
yet he's really good at shifting gears and becoming just an actor on something, and he was very much doing that in The Accountant too, and trusting everything that Gavin told him, at
Yeah.
least from my perspective. Uh,
Gavin said at the premiere, he's like, Ben is an actor, a director, a writer, a producer, and a studio head. I was like, wow,
and
that's
he's good at going back
impressive.
and forth between each one and not doing them all at the same time.
Interesting, right? Because you would think he'd have to stay in that accountant character, but I
No,
guess
you would see the director in him for sure,
wow.
and you would see him keeping it down, especially because he's a producer on the film, and his mind runs 1,000 miles a minute for sure. He's got
Yeah.
a very constantly moving mind, and he's able to compartmentalize all that shit and do his job. And
Awesome.
Daniela, I didn't even know that she was a comedic actor until the after party at South by Southwest. And the character she plays in the movie is like this scary, very stoic Russian assassin. And meanwhile, I met her, and she's like, just everything's funny. She's super sardonic, super sarcastic, super.
Wow.
She's a comedic actress, and I had no idea. And so she's a hell of an act. I mean, all the actors are fucking phenomenal in the movie, and I'm
Yeah.
just honored to be on the cast list with them.
It was
Honestly,
awesome. Yeah, it was
yeah.
honestly awesome to see you in that movie with that cast. It was like a great moment, and I could feel like it was like a real pinnacle. It was a real like you've arrived at this moment after a lot of hard work,
Yeah, it's a lot of hard work,
and it was cool.
yeah, and I think you get to a certain point where you start to know what a director's going to want and what's required to fill your position in the story, and so you make sure those are all incorporated in the way you get the movie. And yeah, I mean, first of all, I never think it's going to get old when I'm doing scenes with a Ben Affleck or Will Smith or shit, even Steve Zahn, who's a friend now, but and John Bernthal, and who I look up to immensely. And I've even been accused of copying him from time to time, which I don't think I'm doing, but I just think that's the way people see it. But like, uh, I don't think it'll ever stop being surreal. Like there's always this voice in your head in some place in your brain going, "Holy shit, that's Ben Affleck, dude! You're speaking words to him, and he's speaking them back." And then you have to go like, "Shut the fuck up!" All
Right.
right, just be yeah. And I
It's
like
important
that.
though. It's
Yeah,
important not to lose that like wonder, the sense of wonder, I think.
I don't think I got to worry about that going away because it's constantly because I love film so much, and so you see these actors larger than life because they play these parts that are larger than life and that you admire, and then here you are doing scenes with them, and if there's anything that keeps you going, it's that. Like it, yeah, that'll never go away. That being awestruck while still acting like you're not, you're still being authentic, but you're just like, wow, this guy's looking me in the eyes and having a conversation with me, and he knows my name. Fucking the guy who wrote Good Will Hunting and directed The Town and Gone Baby Gone and Argo is fucking looking me in the eye. Like it's yeah.
Amazing. I love it. Yeah, because you can be like in the business and also be a fan of cinema, which is what's so fun about it, I think.
I think that's the best way to be. I
Yeah.
think that's the best way to be. If you're not a fan of cinema, I don't know how it's possible to make good cinema. I gotta hand it to Lynette. Like that lady is fucking talented. She is doing exactly what she's meant to do, producing. Like
Yeah.
she is just meant to do it. Like she's one of the only producers that is literally the key producer that's really the puppet master of everything, who was present on set and always easygoing. And I'm like, how the fuck are you compartmentalizing all this shit? Like, yeah.
Yes, and Lynette has produced some amazing movies too. She's an incredible movie producer. So now that The Accountant 2 is coming out into the world, what's the big takeaway from the experience?
I think the takeaway is like the most important thing is to focus on the work, do good work, and because literally that's the only thing you can control. And then you kind of forget about it, and then when it comes out, you enjoy that as much as you can,
Hmm.
and hopefully take advantage of the opportunities it presents. But honestly, takeaway is exactly the same as doing a good indie movie,
Hmm.
like or a show. It's like if you're happy with your work, you did your job,
Right.
and then and just be content with that. And I think when you're content with that and you don't have expectations of what a film's going to do or what a show's going to do or what's going to come of it for you, I think it makes a lot happier artist, because I'm happy with my work. I walked away from that set knowing that I did the best work I could possibly do every time the camera rolled. And if you can learn to feel content with that, then the takeaway is the fulfillment of doing your job. And
Yeah.
so this might sound like bullshit, but honestly, like I've been shockingly serene during the run up to the release of The Accountant 2. I've been very calm and chill, and I think that's a lot easier when you know the movie's good. I don't
Right.
have to say much. Like it's like it speaks for itself. And so, and I think years of practicing what I just said and just focusing on the work and being content with the satisfaction of doing your art, I
Hmm.
think it makes when something comes out less stressful and anxious, and it makes you more like, all right, I already did it, and I'll just go along for this ride. And yeah, so I mean, the takeaway is like it's always good to make something good, whether it's a short film, whether it's an indie film, whether it's a giant studio movie or a show. If
Hmm.
it's good, that the takeaway is the satisfaction that, oh, cool, everyone else did their jobs too, and it worked.
Exactly. Everyone working at the top of their game.
Yeah.
I always say a movie is magic. It's like you find the people who are the best at what they do in their department, bring it
Hmm.
all together, and then the magic happens. You get the
It's
best
the
actors,
ultimate. It's the
best producers.
ultimate collaboration. Like
Totally.
that's what Lynette does. She gets the best DP that she knows is going to work well with the director, and a great
Hmm.
director that she can forget about all the things that a director deals with because she hired him. So that job's done. And
Yeah.
then you get an editor that is synchronized with the director, and you get a script that we don't have to do much. Like the
Hmm.
script is already there, so as long as everyone does exactly what's on the page, we can only expect to elevate it if we get more on set, and all that. Like,
Exactly.
for example, the line dancing shit in The Accountant 2.
Hmm.
When I read the script was excellent, but when I read the line dancing stuff, I kind of was like, this is cute. This is fun. This is charming. But I didn't think much of it. I was like, yeah, all right, that's good. I like that. But you don't realize that it's like the iconic scene of the movie.
Yep.
And when I see the movie, I'm like, the fucking line dancing is amazing. And it's
Yeah.
like the thing a lot of people are talking about when they walk out of the movie. And who would have thought? Like this movie, what it's about, that line dancing would be the thing that really was iconic.
Yep.
And that's what's great about making movies is you never know the part that people are gonna remember most. You never know you never know the parts that are going to become classic, and sometimes it could be this random thing that the writer almost omitted, that he just kept it in for shits and giggles, and then it ends up being this amazing part, like the we're going to need a bigger boat part, like who knew? But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that's what's so fucking cool about it.
Yeah. It even goes back to your tattoo from Fury. Like that was an improvised line.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, and it seems written because it's like such a
Totally.
in the framework of that movie, and to think that it was ad libbed is just crazy to me. Like I'm
Yeah.
like, hell yeah, that's what it's all about.
I think the line dancing scene also is standing out so much to people because it's so out of character for Ben Affleck's character that he loosens up and line dances. Like
Hmm.
anyone who's seen the first one knows, like that's not a character that's going to loosen up and line dance, but he does. And so it's fun to kind of just see him relax and like let loose.
And it's still tied into the story because
Yes,
he can line dance because he can see the patterns that they're doing,
that was
and
so
so he
cool.
immediately registers it and he can pick it up like that.
That was
Uh,
really cool how he picked up
that's
each dance
genius.
move. Yeah, it was genius. I love
Yeah,
that.
Bill is a good writer, man.
Yeah, it was a great script. The performances are great. You're great in it. You're terrifying what
Thanks, man.
you're supposed to be. And so I'm excited for you that the world is going to see it, and I'm excited to see like what it leads to next, like the next jobs that you get from
Yeah,
the accountant too. You never
I
know.
am too. I don't I
It'll
don't
be
know.
great. Okay, so here's where it becomes like inside the actor studio. We go back to the beginning. Tell everybody where you are from originally.
I was born in this little town near Mammoth, California, called Hawthorne, Nevada, and it's in a different state because the state line is right between Mammoth and Hawthorne.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, yeah. So they're only like 50 miles apart, but and there's a state line through the middle. And I was born at Mount Grant General Hospital. And then my middle name is Whitney, so I was named after mountains, Mount
Wow,
Grant and Mount Whitney.
that's
Last name
cool.
had to stay because that's my dad's last name. But yeah, he was into the mountains,
How
and I
cool.
love the mountains still. And so yeah, and then was pretty much raised there, and then parents split, and with no loss of love. Both parents were great in their own ways, and them loving my brother and I was never in doubt, even though
Mm.
their marriage ended. My mom, I was able to watch her as a woman go from a GED or high school diploma education only, and being pretty much a stay-at-home mom. She would work like part-time jobs or these, little jobs to keep, because she's a motivated person. But it wasn't until I was at least in my teenage years that she started to expand. Now that her mothering duties for them, she would say that they're never over,
Hmm.
but for raising us was pretty much capped. Like she did it, and so she started to like focus on career and everything. And it was amazing to watch as an adult my mom become such a success. And so that took her to the East Coast, and then mostly DC, and because she works in government, and now, and she since transferred to the Top Gun facility, and that's where she lives now, and that's
Wow.
this little town called Fallon. Everyone thinks Top Gun is in San Diego. It's not. It's in this little farming town in Nevada called Fallon, and which is only about an hour and a half from Mammoth, and it's about 140 miles from Mammoth, I would say, maybe
Okay.
130 miles. Um, and so she transferred there because her job is able to work from there, and so that's where she is. She's on the West Coast with my brother and I, and yeah, so yeah, I grew up there mostly. I went to college in Reno, Nevada, because it was the only college I could afford to go to because
Mm.
my dad was a teacher in Hawthorne. And so I was able to get Nevada tuition, in-state tuition. I went to Reno, skied for them for a year or two, and then I was like a semester from graduating, and I just left and
No
drove to
way.
LA.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, what am I doing? I want to be an actor. So I drove to LA in 2000, spring of 2007, knew nobody, literally slept on couches for 2 years with people that I met and became friends with. Yeah, I had no money, no connections. And in those 2 years, I was able to get an agent finally. It's the same agent I'm with today. So,
Amazing.
he was at the premiere of The Accountant too with me, and he's a good friend. He's very close to my mom. She considers him family, and so it was I'm one of those rare situations where I've been with the same agent since my very beginning. Like I've literally never had another agent, and so for him to be able to see the progression of my career the way he has in such an
Hmm.
intimately close way, it was the most proud he's been yet at that premiere. He got emotional, and
Mm.
so that was all very rewarding for me for him to be sitting there. Um, but yeah, so I signed with him, and then actually he hip pocketed me and sent me into this one audition for some Nickelodeon or Disney show or something because I was like 22, and I looked like I
Right.
was when I was 22 I looked like I was 15.
So did
So
I.
like which really is a good thing for an actor because then you could make your bones playing teenagers until you're actually good at acting.
Yeah.
And so I go into this audition, he hip pockets me, and it's straight to producers. And I go into this room, and there's a casting director, a bunch of producers, a bunch of writers, episodic director, and I did it. And I'm driving home, and I get a call from the assistant at his office, and I think that I crushed it. I'm like, that was great. I'm probably getting this part. And she calls and she goes, Grant, how'd the audition go? I'm like, good. I think it went really good. And she's like, okay, well, the feedback was that they all think you're on drugs.
What?
And I rest assured I was not on drugs. But I was like, oh. So I made him look bad kind of in that audition because he talked me into that room without being pre-read or anything. And so then he
But that
makes
was
me
also
go,
your first audition ever. So
first audition
you're
ever
you
with
were
an
probably
agent. Yeah.
nervous. Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely nervous.
And
And
what was your acting experience like up to that point? Did you do school plays growing up? Like what was sort of
no,
happening?
I never did plays. I never took drama class. I never took an
So what
acting
was it? It
class.
was just did people know you wanted to be an actor when you grew up, or was it your own secret wish?
No, I definitely kept that to myself, not realizing that I was actually keeping it to myself.
Hmm.
I think it was clear that I loved movies because I would make movies at home with my brother with our little camcorder, um, and I would always watch movies. And when I was really young, I was watching movies that were way too mature for me, but yet, and I remember watching Rudy. I got my whole family to watch Rudy, and I was so young when that came out that honestly, at the age I was at, you don't fully understand the movie.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it and kind of getting bored, but being like, don't let them see that you're bored right now. Just keep staring at the screen because I know this is a good movie. And I was just trying to find what I was missing. And it was just things that, an 8-year-old or whatever just isn't going to see.
Yeah.
But so yeah, and I kept it to myself just because I guess it was such a far-fetched idea. It would be the equivalent of saying I wanted to be the first person on Mars. Like,
Mm.
so, and it was just so far away and just so out of touch and unreachable that I really didn't tell anyone. But I would write scripts and stuff, and even though I didn't know
Wow.
how to format them at the time, and so then I get to college, and you come into your own in college, and uh, in college I took one drama class, and it was I don't know if there was anything beneficial that I learned from that, but it got me in front of my peers doing scenes.
Mm.
And then, yeah, I was studying journalism and literature only because it came very easy for me, not blowing smoke up my ass. I just was always good at writing and the
Yeah.
English language and constructing words and all that.
Hmm.
I just took to it very easily, and so that was the no-brainer to do in college. But then it was like I was like, what am I doing? I want to be an actor. And so I was paying for my own college, so it's not like I was going to disappoint anyone. So I just drove to LA in the spring of 2007, didn't tell anyone,
Wow.
and just started banging around and feeling it out. And
You didn't know anybody in LA when you moved here?
I knew nobody.
That's
Um,
wild. That's like you
and
have to be fearless. I mean, I didn't really know
yeah,
anybody either, but
I think there's a healthy dose of naivete that's
and
required to get into our business. Because like,
delusion. I think
yeah,
delusion too.
yeah, and I think it's that naivete that gives you that you don't realize how much the odds are stacked against you.
Right,
And
exactly.
because if you do realize it, then you're never gonna succeed because that's gonna pound you at night. And so yeah, I was literally sleeping on couches, couch surfing, doing all that bullshit. And the place I was staying at, this dude that I knew after a year or whatever, he would grow weed in his extra bedroom of his 2 bedroom apartment, and that was kind of how he paid his rent. It was a
Mm.
little hydroponic room, so I'd sleep on the couch, and his bathroom was so disgusting, and his shower was so disgusting that I'm even with flip flops, you didn't want to get in that thing. So I would go to the gym every single day, and I would exercise, and then I would shower in LA Fitness's showers, and that was my daily routine. So I stayed in good shape at that time, and then at that time I couldn't afford a BlackBerry yet, and so I had a flip phone. I remember, or the equivalent of a flip phone. I don't know if it flipped or not, but it was that kind of phone that you played Snake on, and
Yep.
I would leave it at the house I was staying at when I would go to the gym to shower and work out, and I had auditioned. So going back, Patrick, my agent, after I blew up that first audition and they thought I was on drugs, I went. He made me go to this acting class. Very famous acting teacher named Leslie Kahn,
Mm.
and
Yep.
she does this thing called a triage, and to get into her class, and it's basically she assesses where you're at.
Hmm.
So I do the scene with her, and that's all I know. And then I sit down, and the other candidates do their scenes, and then I leave. And she, without me knowing this, she actually called my agent and was like, "I'm not going to take your client on as a student because I don't want to fuck with what he's got going on. And
Wow.
if you don't sign him to be your client, I'm going to make sure that he has an agent by the end of the week." And I'm
That's
forever grateful for her doing that
major.
because the next day, Patrick signed me and I was an official client after about 2 years of banging around. And the very first audition he sent me on as an official client was Secret Life of the American Teenager. And coincidentally enough, the character's name was Grant, and he was a
Right.
pizza delivery boy. And I grew up in a pizza place, and it was like, this is crazy. So I do the audition,
Wait, that's wild. Grant the pizza
and
delivery boy.
mm-hmm,
That's
and so I
wild.
do the audition, and I'm so nervous that I learned the lines forward and back, like so that I knew that if I got nervous, the lines would still come out of my mouth.
Hmm.
And so I do it, and then like 3 weeks go by. And I remember I was backpacking near Mammoth with my dad and my brother and these guys. We used to always go backpacking and stuff. Like I said, mountain guys. And I think we were in the mountains for 3 days, and it was day one, and I had spotty service, but I saw an email come in uh, that said I could, in this very analog way, read emails on the shitty phone I had. And it was from my agent, and it said, "You have a chemistry callback for Secret Life." And I literally responded, "I can't do it. I'm backpacking," which I think about now, which is so fucking insane because I wanted it more than anything to be a real actor and to start doing it for a living. And I had given up so much to do it. And the fact that I said that is just fucking crazy to me. But I hand it to Patrick for being like, shut the fuck up and get back to LA now. You're doing this fucking chemistry. And I was like, oh yeah. And that kind of shook me out of it. I'm like, yeah, what am I thinking?
Of
I
course.
literally hiked down the same day that I hiked up and drove back to LA that day, 5 hours. And I think the chemistry was maybe Monday, and this must have been a Friday or Saturday. And I go and I do it, and it was with India Isley, the actress that I was playing the boyfriend of, and down years later, I realized that Brenda Hampton, the showrunner, I was her choice, and she
Mm.
wanted me to be the one that the actress picked. And but at the time, I didn't realize it. But I'm looking around at the four or five other guys that were in the waiting room, and looking back on it, none of them were even remotely right. And one
Mm.
guy had so much facial hair, like I was like, this dude looks 25. There's no way he's playing a 15-year-old. And the other guys, in their own ways, were not right. Nothing against them. They just weren't right. I didn't realize that at the time because I didn't have the experience. But so it was a no-brainer for the actress to choose me out of the candidates.
Mm-hmm.
So I go in nervous as hell, and I do the scene with her, and then I remember, so then going back to the couch thing, showering at the gym. So then I go back to my life, and I'm sleeping on a couch. And one day I go to the gym to shower and work out, and I come back and I had a voicemail from Patrick. I still have the voicemail, and it was, "Congratulations, you've just been approved by ABC Family. You're now a cast member on Secret Life: The American Teenager." And you know, yeah, that was a great moment. I get a little emotional because like that was a great moment. But
Major
yeah,
moment.
and I remember
That's a life
I
changing moment at
I
that
was so in over my head. Like I had no idea how a set worked. I didn't even know what a mark was. I
point.
didn't know what a real set was like. And I remember I got there and the crew guys picked up on it. And I've always broed out with the crew. Like the crew are my people. I like those guys and girls. Like those,
Yeah.
that's who I like to hang with. And it's still like that to this day. And I remember them being like, they would like throw little nods and shit at me, like the camera operators. I remember like the mark thing. I remember one of the camera operators going like, crap, and I looked over. I'm like, yeah, and he goes, yeah, stand right there. That's your mark. That's your mark right there. And I was like, oh, got it. That's what that tape is. And I felt so behind all my peers on the show. Like, Shailene Woodley, India, who was playing my girlfriend, was in real life 15 years old, and she had a resume that was already like so long, and
Hmm.
and then all these other great actors that had been on the show for 2 years, and they had all these resumes that were so impressive to me, and so I truly felt like I was way behind because I was one of the older cast members at 22, 23, and Shay was, I think, 18, 17,
Right.
and yeah, and so all that was a good thing because I worked, that was my drama school. I was on Secret Life for 4 years, did like something like 35 episodes,
Yeah.
and that was my drama school. Like by the time I cycled out of the show, I knew I knew the lenses that were on the cameras. I knew what the other actors' lines were. I just knew every single element that was going on to make the show. And by the time I left, I left very equipped to go on to other projects that actually the acting mattered. Nothing against Secret Life, but De Niro could be on that show and say those lines and it would not sound good. But to this day, she changed her number. So I have no way of getting hold of her. And that was just this year. But Brenda Hampton, up until this year, I would call or text her around the holidays. And I always thank her for some reason liking me and choosing me, because I don't think I would be in The Accountant 2 right now if she hadn't put me on that cheesy teenage melodrama. And I'm forever grateful for her for
That's
doing that.
amazing. That's amazing because it wasn't just a show. It was like it was a job and it was school. It was like literally your grad school, and it was like
And I also went from having zero. I literally didn't even have a bank account. I think I had $40 when I got that voicemail from Patrick, and for some reason that's the number that I thought I had, $40.
mhm.
And I went from having $40 to my first year being on the show, making more money than my mom and dad combined had ever made in 2 or 3 years.
Right. Mm.
And so I mean, they say that like no actor wants to say that they were just, it was all luck, and I don't think it is all luck. Like you have to generally you have to work your ass off. I mean, there are the rare examples of people that just stumble into talent, and we've known them, and that stumble into town and they're here 6 months and they're on a show and then
Right. Right.
but I think for the most part you have to work your ass off, and then you also have to have a little stroke of luck at some point to help to accentuate that hard work. And I think it was Brenda, for some reason, picking me out of the hundreds of dudes that were auditioning for that part to hire me. And my I don't even know what it was, but that was my lucky stroke that happened, that made me able to be here like talking to you right now.
I believe in the universe and science, and the fact that his name was Grant, the character, and
Fucking
he worked at a pizza
crazy.
place, and you grew up working in your family's pizza place.
Yeah.
It's almost like the universe sent that character to you as a sign to be like, you're gonna be okay. That's what it
So
feels like.
crazy. It was just
That's
that's, things
incredible.
like that. One or two of those things kind of have to happen in order for you to kind of break in and get going. And
Yes,
yeah, and that shit you can't control. I think the thing is you just work hard, and it sounds cliche, but so when that opportunity does happen, you take advantage of it and you don't let it slip by, like not hiking down the mountain and driving back to LA.
exactly. That's when like having that agent who believed in you was really important to like
Yeah.
explain to you that
And also
this
the
was the
fact that
moment.
Leslie Kahn told him like no uncertain terms, I think you're missing this. You better sign him. And now he's my agent today, and he's family.
Yeah,
So
and Leslie Kahn is probably the best acting teacher in LA, and for her to see that in you is a huge vote of confidence too. That's amazing. So would you,
yeah, and all these things I didn't realize in the moment, but yeah,
if
yeah,
you look back now,
looking
yeah,
back, I do.
she saw it. She knew that
Yeah,
you had that thing, that X factor. So the
yeah,
Secret Life of the
and she does see
American,
it. Yeah.
she knew, and the Secret Life of the American Teenager
Yeah.
was your big break. Was that the moment you were like, okay, maybe I can make a living doing this, being an actor?
I remember this specific thought of because I'm on this couch and I remember thinking to myself, if I could just get 3 episodes out of this, I could get an apartment and I could say that officially a real actor because it'll be on my IMDb that I've done 3 episodes of this at the time very successful show.
Yeah,
And I remember having that thought. And so it wasn't like I ever thought about it as being like this was my big break. It was like if I could just get to, and then I did 3 episodes, and then it would be in my head. I would be like, if I could just get 10, then I'll be really legitimate.
right.
And then it was kind of just a progression of that, and yeah, and I kind of never stops, and I think that's probably a healthy way to be.
Yeah, you ended up on that show from seasons 2 to season 5, which is a nice run
Yeah,
for your first job.
yeah, it
Um,
was 4 years.
Amazing. That was the
Yeah,
next show you were on was created by Dan Fogelman, actually, who created This Is
the neighbors.
Us,
Yeah.
The Neighbors, and that was cool. It was on for 2 seasons on ABC, a
I was
regular
the
on that, right?
boyfriend of Clara Mamet in
Right.
season one, and it
Yeah.
was a comedy. In
Yes.
which you say that to people now, and they're like, "Grant does comedy," and they're like, "But because I do the most serious shit ever now." But like, yeah, it was a comedy, and I was actually shooting that while I was shooting Secret Life.
Oh, that's great.
In the last year that I was on Secret Life, I was doing Dan Fogelman's show.
How
I did the
cool.
dumbest fucking thing though. I mean, you learn the best lessons the hardest, but I remember my girlfriend at the time bartended at this bar, and she tells me that, hey, your show is having their rap party at my bar. And I remember I didn't get invited to it. And because I was in, I want to say like 8 of 13 episodes or something like that.
Right.
So I did the dumbest fucking thing. And I tweeted Dan Fogelman. I was like, thanks for the invite.
Oh
To
no.
this day, I regret it, and I'll run into him one of these days, and I'll probably tell him that, and he'll be like, "Oh, I didn't even notice it."
Right.
But I was like, "Oh, fuck, you idiot!" Like
And you were
Dan
so
Fogelman.
young. You
I
were
was
so
so
young at the
young, and
time.
I was like, "Well, you're being sarcastic over such a trivial, dumb thing as a rap party. Like, who gives a shit?" But like, yeah, I still regret that to this day.
How do you like being on a comedy though? Was it fun?
Fun. I actually love comedy, and
Yeah. Yeah, you should
and
do more comedy for sure.
I'm happy to. One of the movies I produced, actually, both movies I produced are comedy,
Yeah.
and they're pretty funny. And but you know how it is. Like you get into one lane, and people see you do that that type of thing, and then that's what they want to use you for. And so I think it's just a progression of like serious, 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 and then someone will be like, oh, let's hire him for this comedy thing, and then it'll be comedy, 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 and it just ebbs and flows.
Yeah, that would be great. Did you learn a lot from the other actors on that show, the neighbors, the comedy actors? Because I know Jamie Gerth was the mom. She's like, I've
She was wonderful.
loved her in movies since I was a kid. Like, she's an amazing actress, and so you
She's an
got to,
amazing woman,
yeah,
and
she really is.
I met her sons on there, and then Lenny DeVito played the
Mm,
dad,
yes, yes.
and he's got we know a lot of guys like this, but he's like I think he's a Staten Island guy,
Hmm.
and people from Staten Island generally, a lot of actors, as far as I could tell, they are who they are, and they're really good at playing themselves. Like
Right,
they when the cameras start rolling, nothing changes. Everything just amplifies about who they are.
right.
And like Jeremy Luke and Joey Russo and Lenny Veneto, that's his name.
Yeah.
And he was great. And like I loved being on set with him. And because it's a comedy, it's just so loose. And I was playing this aloof kind of bro jock type of guy, and I'm matched up with Clara Mamet, who you would never imagine in a million years that being her boyfriend, because she's got that whole Clara Mamet thing. She's very dry, she's
Right.
very like deadpan, and so it was just that was fun. That was just a fun show to be on, and yeah, I forgot about that. That was just, it was fun. It was easy and fun. And I remember when I got the part for that, that was back in room auditioning days. I read for the casting director, and we were laughing before I even started doing the scene, just talking. And then halfway through the scene, I'm pretty sure I messed up, and we started laughing about it. And she just goes, "You don't need to finish. Can you come back in 3 hours?" And I was like, "Sure." And so I come back in 3 hours, and Dan Fogelman is there, and
Hmm.
his directing producer does a ton of episodic. Anyway, he was there. I'd start doing the scene again. We all start laughing, and the scene gets messed up. And I didn't even finish the scene, and they're like, "No, you're good, man. You're good. That's all we need." And then I walk to my car, and I pick up my phone, and they had already called my reps and said, "We'd like
Wow.
to hire Grant." And it was so like,
You know what's
yeah,
interest what's so interesting about that is that kind of shows that like in-room auditioning is such a different experience. Because if you had just made a tape, you wouldn't have had that interaction.
no, no. And I think there's some
That's how
drawbacks.
that's how we get you back in comedy. You got to do in-room
I
auditions.
know, because they see that, oh, he is funny. Like, he's a
Right.
total goofball. Like, this guy who's so scary in the account, too. Like, when you're talking to him, he's like nothing like that.
Right.
And they're like, he could be funny. But yeah, I think the things we lost with in-room auditioning was an ability for a casting director and casting directors are very good at their jobs, and they love actors.
Hmm.
And as you know, and they lost the ability to get a read on someone, like,
Yep.
and whether they're directable or not. And they kind of have to roll the dice when they're hiring off the tapes, because Zoom will only do so much. But when they can see that you're directable, and that you're decent to be around in
Yep.
close proximity for long periods of time, then all that's very important. I mean, I think being a good actor is just a fractional part of what it takes to sustain a career, because
Yep.
people need to like being around you. You
100%.
need to be able to be moldable and directable, and not take things personally. All those things are super important. I would never want to hire a nightmare person onto a production. Like, that doesn't do anyone any good. And
Hmm.
and so we've lost that. What we've gained is that, you know, when you do a tape, for example, for the account too, I had this rifle in the scene that I could have never had in an in-room audition. I would have had my sides rolled up and acting like it was a gun.
Right.
And and you can angle things onto the camera and get stylistic, and you can be barefoot, you could turn up the heat. I remember for Emancipation, for that, I turned up the heat in my apartment as high as I could get it, and then it was like layered in wool and stuff, so I was really sweating.
Smart.
And you could do things like that, and you could scream, you could yell, you can use minor props, you could spit, you could drink, and whatever you want to do to get a better take, you can do. And there's like push and pull with in room, but I think ultimately in room auditioning it's a shame that it's gone away,
Yeah.
because it was like a that was your whole day. You'd prepare up until it, you'd wake up that morning, you'd go to sleep at a certain time the night before, you'd wake up that morning, you'd do all these things to make you as loose and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed as possible and present as possible. And then you'd go in and everyone has an equal playing field that's auditioning for the part. And you
Yep.
have to get over these things, like, and I think it toughens you up. Like when you walk into a waiting room and there's fucking 7, 8 guys in there, and like 6 of them are way better looking than you, and 5 of them you know their names without looking at the sign-in list, and
Right.
you have to go in and comport yourself and stay focused, and then you can sometimes hear what's happening in the audition room, which I fucking hated, because then it's like, oh god, now everyone's listening to everyone's audition, I can't fuck up, like,
Right.
and all of that toughens you up, and then you go in and then you have to fucking nail it, and it's the same lighting, the same camera, the same reader for everyone, so you have no excuse. Like
Hmm.
everyone's going to look the same, everyone's going to sound the same, and everyone's going to have the same reader, so the guy who's most right for it's getting it.
Exactly.
And you only had 2 or 3 takes to nail it. If you fucked up twice in a row, usually that was it.
It's
You know,
over.
and so it was like kind of like being a bat. Like you had to perform, and I think losing that has kind of been a drawback to the business a little bit, because you're not getting you chance hiring less resilient actors, less yeah.
One thing you just said that I love that I always tell my actor friends is a lot of times it's like you said, it's someone they want to spend all day with. Like, yes, you want them to be a great actor and the best person for the role, but it's also someone you're going to spend hours and hours with for weeks. And I think it same
Yeah, or
goes for
months.
months. The same goes for the director too. Like when you meet with an actor, they want to be with a director, that they click with and like personality meshes.
Yeah,
So it's really interesting.
yeah.
A lot of it has to do with like personality. And
And
so,
now we're in a time, because enough years have gone by, that I feel like there's people getting parts that are thrust into this position, and they're not fully equipped to
mm,
deal with the pressures and the moldability that you have to have of being on a set with the, because a lot of times you'll audition and whatever, like the character standing up, and then when you get to set, this episodic director who's never met you is like,
right,
now we're gonna do a sitting down, and and I want you like simultaneously checking your phone as you're doing the scene, and you got
right,
to be able to like, roll with that. And if
exactly,
you're like just thinking it's going to be exactly what you did in your audition room, yeah,
exactly. But you must be good at auditioning because you've booked a lot of shows. I have a list here. I'll just rattle off. So after Secret Life of the American Teenager and The Neighbors, you did all the CSIs. You did CSI New York 2012. You did CSI the original in 2014. CSI Cyber in 2015. I know on the original CSI you got to work with Ted Danson, and I grew up obsessed with
yeah,
Cheers. So that must
me
have
too.
been amazing. What was that
And
like?
he's just as great as you think he is. He's Ted
He's
Danson,
the
like
coolest. Never stops working. I mean, he has a show
saw him in the
every
saw him in the
year.
makeup hair trailer, and I was like, I think I actually said it. I think I was like, holy shit, you're Ted Danson. I feel like you're like an uncle. I feel like I know you, but I've never met you, because you were just in my house every week for my entire childhood. And
Yep.
he's like, I get it all the time.
That's so nice. Yeah. I love when they're what you want them to be. He's totally that guy. And then 2014 to 2016, I'll list these: Bones, Criminal Minds, Masters of Sex, NCIS New Orleans, Lucifer, and Supernatural. That's a lot of hit shows to get to be on and pop in for episodes and act with all different casts and different directors. And that's like the life of a real working actor. Like you
And
were.
like I'm blue collar working too, so it was like, I would do those one-off guest stars, and that's what kept the lights on, and that's what kept, me being able to pay rent and live a life and just be an actor. It was those guest stars that would keep me through until I got things that were more
Or
substantial or whatever. But yeah, that's definitely what got me through.
But you knew you were doing something right if you're
Yeah,
booking
I
so
think
many shows.
I'm the type of person that, like, I figured out how to audition well, like, and I figured out that the most important part is, yes, being prepared. That's a given. You got to be prepared and be ready to do the scene. But what was more important was when I'd walk in, I would make sure that I was absolutely vulnerable and
Mm,
absolutely present, and not say things automatic. Like I would teach myself, like, I remember a lot of actors would always, at the end of an audition, say thank you before they left, even when the casting directors are telling you thank you. And
Mm,
so I would make it a point to center myself enough so that when they said thank you, I looked them in the eyes and said, "You're welcome." And then not in a like a egotistical way, not in a
right.
cocky way, but they said thank you, so you say you're welcome. And then if I wanted to after that, I'm like, and thank you guys too. And they would say you're welcome. And like just little things like that
I love that.
make them remember you more, like he's listening, he's
Yep.
present. And I would
Yes.
just make sure that that was the most important part of an audition. And the scene was what it was, and you do a good job, but like everything else mattered too.
Did you start to get a feeling like when you would walk out of an audition, like I got that one, or did you just leave it
Mm-hmm.
in the room and wait for the call? Would you know?
No, what's good about doing self tapes is you could watch your audition, and like so sometimes in order to get myself to stop thinking about it, I would get home and set up my iPhone and do the scene as much the same way as I remember doing it in the room
Right.
with the camera, with the phone, and then I would watch it back. And actually I would do it a little worse than I knew I did it in the room. And then I would watch it back and be like, okay, I'm all right. Like there's no way I was this bad, and this is still all right. So and then I would stop thinking about it. But there would be times where I'd walk out going like, I'm fucking getting that. And then there'd be other times where like I have no idea, but I do think with in-room auditions, I never got a part that I walked out of going like, I don't know.
Right.
I I only got hired when I walked out going like, I fucking got it.
Interesting. That's really cool.
Yeah.
There's something fun about it. I know it's so like unstable, but like there's something fun about you don't know. It's like you have to earn each job over and over again.
Every single time.
It's amazing. But it's
Every
also
single
like
time.
but there's like talent and skill there. I always have loved it and think it's exciting, but like yeah, it's literally like there's a formula to it, like you said.
Yeah, there is, and it takes a while to figure out. And I think I'm so grateful that I came into the business when in-room auditioning was the way that it was done. Like
Hmm.
self tapes are very rare. Like I would do a self tape once in a great while for a casting director in New York, but for the most part, it was always in the room. And I did that for over a decade, and so that it teaches you a lot, and it makes you kind of into a fortified kind of actor where you're not you're not gonna break very easily, and you're good at holding your own when there's a
Yeah.
lot of pressure, because when you get to a set there's no greater pressure than that. And I don't give a fuck how famous and successful you are, the first day on a set you're nervous.
Yep.
I've never not been nervous on my first day on a set, no matter how big or small the project was. And because you're like, everyone's watching you. And then kind of like, crew and directors and stuff, you might be the hot shit of the moment, but in the context of a set, no one's seeing that. Everyone's
Hmm.
doing their jobs and like, oh yeah, is that guy from that? But no one gives a shit. And so
Right.
every time you step onto a set, yeah, you have to prove yourself in the audition, but now you have to prove yourself to this production so that they know that you're as good as you can be. And so, that repetition, especially doing all those guest stars, because when you
Yeah.
step onto a set as a guest star, no one thinks shit of you. And I mean, you're just here this week, and
Mm.
and it's like, yeah, he's trying to be an actor, like he got this guest star, like. And so doing that over and over and over, and having to go on to dozens of sets and prove myself to the production,
Right.
that I saw it as a challenge, and I wanted to prove myself to them as fast as I could.
Right.
So like, and you would notice it like after day 2 or 1 or 2 days, that everyone would warm up to you like, oh, this guy's a pro, and
Right.
he's not just a passerby, one-off guy. Like
Mm.
he's doing this and he's doing it real. Yeah.
Right. Because you're the new kid in school on the first day.
And then now with self tapes, all that 10 years of auditioning in rooms, I think it even adds to that a little bit, because you somehow figure out how to give little nuggets of the things you could give in an in-room audition into the tape.
Yeah.
You figure it out. Like,
That's
yeah,
interesting.
I think it all helped. I wonder about like, young actors coming into it that have never done an in-room audition. I'm like, fuck, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Maybe it'll come back. I mean, maybe it
Yeah.
was a pandemic thing. I don't know. But it's so efficient now with tapes. But
So efficient, yeah.
I mentioned it before, 2016, Small Shots came out on Netflix in 2017. That's our shared credit so far.
Mm-hmm.
Alev, Aiden, and Justin Shack created that, and you're friends with
Yeah.
Jeremy Luke and Joseph Russo, or Turbo and
Good
Joey.
friends with them. Yeah.
Yeah, those are your boys. Yeah, and so you did
Yeah.
popped in for one episode of that show, and then 2017 also was the movie we mentioned earlier, Thumper,
Bumper.
written and directed by our friend Jordan Ross. I remember when he told me who he cast, I was like, oh, I know Grant Harvey, and it was
Yeah.
you and Eliza Taylor and Pablo Schreiber and Daniel Weber and Lena Headey and Ben
Yeah. It's a
Feldman.
good cast.
Yeah, Ben Feldman's done this podcast and yourself, and yeah, great cast and indie movie, and Jordan made that happen, wrote it, directed it, raised the financing. You and Jordan obviously bonded on that movie. What was the
Yeah.
Thumper experience like? What was that movie like?
It was great. I became just quick friends with Jordan, and it very early in the shoot, it stopped being he's the director and I'm the actor. It was like I think it was pretty clear that we're going to be homies for life,
Nice.
and also he gave me this. He goes, look, I had to keep the page count at a certain number, and he goes, the way I did that was I eliminated a lot of your character's lines. He goes, so I just want you to be the character, because he saw that I was pretty decent at ad-libbing in the moment and everything. And so
Cool.
he goes, if you have an impulse, obviously he knew that I understood the script and I wasn't going to step on important lines or anything like that.
Right.
He goes, but if something comes to you, just be cut loose and say the lines and say what comes to you. And he goes, that's how I'm going to get your lines back in the movies. Just say it as the character and whatever comes to you. So the whole movie, I was essentially like ad-libbing off of these minimal lines that he had given me, and I would just, and that's that. My whole performance is pretty much that. Like I would say, 70% of my lines were I just ad-libbed in the moment,
Reacting to what was really going
and
on.
so that made it really fun and a lot less pressure and a lot less rigid, and it was great because I definitely annoyed Daniel Weber because I mean he's the
Hmm.
lead of the movie and he was doing this character and I there was a part of me that felt bad and I made it. I tried my best to never. I don't think I ever like overpowered his important moments or anything like that, but uh, I definitely annoyed him a few times, like because my character was my character. Like he's a big, personable guy,
Yeah.
big personality guy, and I think him being annoyed actually, I think Jordan even said this during the shoot. He goes, "You're annoying Daniel, but it's helping. Like I think it helps what he's doing because you guys, gives you guys a history and everything. Like you annoy him sometimes, and it's kind of showing. And he goes, just keep doing it. And I'm like, okay.
How cool. That's
Luckily,
really cool.
Daniel and I are still friends, but like he was definitely annoyed with me while we were doing the shoot.
Yeah, no, but that movie turned out great. I remember reading the script on a plane when he first wrote it, and like there's a whole twist because it's a girl is a narc, but she like is blending in with the high school kids.
Yeah, it's like 21 Jump Street, but not campy, and it's extremely serious and
Right.
dramatic and hardcore. Yeah, but that's the overall concept.
Yeah, and it's fun to watch because the whole time you're like, is she gonna get caught, and how is she gonna get caught, and you're scared for her because it's she's doing it in a very dangerous way.
Everyone gave great performances, and
Yeah,
Pablo Schreiber, he was a beast in that movie, and
yeah,
very intimidating, and and also because like me, him, Daniel, the guys in the movie, we do a lot of scenes together. Like Jordan, we got physical with each other. So like,
mm,
Pablo would do things to me, like like grab my neck or flick me in the ear and things like that, and it made it all real. And that's like a good thing about doing an indie movie like that. You can
yeah,
do that because we're on
totally.
the same page. Yeah,
Yeah, I got to go. We went to the premiere. It was at the Egyptian Theater. Remember?
yeah.
That was a cool one. Yeah, that got a
I
good.
yeah, I flew in for that because I was in Vancouver doing
Oh
that
yeah,
show.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about the show. 2018, you did an ABC show called The Crossing. You
Hmm.
mentioned Steve Zahn as a friend of yours.
Hmm.
Starred Steve Zahn and Natalie Martinez. You played a character named Roy Aronson. What was that like? Series regular, ABC, one
It
hour
was
show.
great because I love Vancouver.
Yeah,
It's one of my favorite cities. And like I said,
you love
I
mountains.
love the mountains and
Yeah.
I love skiing, and so there's great skiing up there,
Hmm.
and also it's just a beautiful city. I love everything about it, and and it was an ensemble show too. So really, you're only working like 2 or 3 days a week max. And so then you're in this beautiful place for 4 days with 4 days off every week, and you're making regular money. And so yeah, I mean that was a lovely experience. It was also a good show for network. Like
Yeah.
as far as network dramas go, and it wasn't procedural.
Hmm.
As far as those go, it was very good. I honestly don't know why it didn't get renewed for a second season. I'll never know. But uh, but yeah, that was a great show to work on. And Steve Zahn and Rick Gomez are just, dude, I'm friends with them for life. And Steve is like a legend, but he's funny
Yeah.
as fuck, and he's as funny as you'd think he'd be. And yeah, that was a pleasure, man. That was a pleasure shooting that show.
Yeah, that show would be on streaming now because it's not a procedural, because each episode is not self-contained, like, and it tells a story
Yeah,
throughout the season. That would
yeah.
totally be a show on a streamer that people binge now.
100%. It
Yeah,
just missed
it was
its time. I think it was just before
totally
its time where like ABC would have just moved it to their streamer, to Disney Plus or whatever, and it would
right.
have kept going.
Exactly.
I mean, everything happens the way it happens, and so I take it as it comes, like I said. So I mean, whatever. But it was a great experience, and honestly, it's probably a sweeter memory for me because it was just one season.
Yeah,
I didn't get a chance to for it to get old or anything.
yeah. Now you would call it a limited series. Now you-
Right. And the character was great too because he had a heart of gold and he was morally sound and just trying to do what was right the whole time. And it's nice to have that because as of late I've just been playing the villains.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was going to ask you. So, 2018, you did some episodes of Shooter on
Hmm.
USA, which actually stars a friend of mine, Ryan Phillippe, who
Yeah.
I have to do a podcast with Ryan. But that show was on for 3 seasons, and it's about Ryan plays a sniper who's in the
Hmm.
U.S. Marine Corps. So, I was wondering if maybe that show about a sniper helped prepare you for the accountant too.
I play like this hillbilly, crazy redneck maniac in that show.
Yeah.
So I had a giant, like a desert eagle or
Yeah.
something in my hand, but so no sniper rifle for me. And uh, I didn't start to do the sniper. I didn't start to do, sniper military shit until after that, and then it started coming heavy, and
Yeah.
yeah,
It's interesting, yeah. But that was cool that you got to work with Ryan. He's done some amazing movies, obviously, over the years. Some of my favorites. And then 2019, this was major. You joined the cast of Animal Kingdom, which is an awesome show based on the movie Animal Kingdom from 2010.
yeah,
Jackie Weaver was nominated for an Oscar for that movie, and
yeah,
then Ellen Barkin plays her character on the
yeah.
show, and her sons are played by Sean Hattasey, Ben Robson, Jake Weary, and Scott Speedman, who's a friend of mine, and that was on TNT for 6 seasons. And
Yep.
you joined for season 4, and what was really cool was season 4 flashed back to when
Yeah.
Ellen Barkin's character was young, and her first love was this guy Colin, and you got to play Ellen Barkin's first love when she's younger. Her character Janine was played
Layla
by
George.
Layla George, right?
Yeah.
And so the two of you were kind of the prequel series within
Yeah, it
the
was kind of like the same thing as
series.
like not the same structurally the same as like Godfather 2, it was like a
Exactly.
constant juxtaposition and
Totally.
honestly that was one of my favorite parts I've ever played just because I love the character. And then I was playing Sean Hattasey's character's father.
Right.
And also, they told me at the beginning of the season I was a one season regular, and so they were like, "You're 100% dying at the end of the season, no matter how much we like you, no matter you're dying." So it gave me like an endpoint and an arc and so there was no anxiety of like next season, da da da. It was just like just go all out for this,
Right.
and the cast is phenomenal. John Wells is phenomenal showrunner,
Amazing.
great
Yeah.
guy, and I loved all the dudes on the show, and also because I had Sean Hattasey had been on the show for 3 seasons up until I came on, and I was playing his father, so it was like a reverse engineering. I just binged and watched him in the first 3 seasons and then kind of channeled those body languages and the way of talking
Oh,
and
cool.
all those things. So it made sense still, even though I was the father and usually it'd be the other way around, but it made it work. And Layla played a great Janine or a great
Yeah.
Smurf.
Smurf, they call me. Yeah.
And all the other guys that were in my crew, great dudes. And it was That was a pleasure to shoot, and because the show's so bad, I think it's an underrated show. I think
No,
it's an
yeah,
underappreciated show. Like even if I wasn't in it,
no, that
I
show's awesome.
I tell people, I'm like, you should watch it because it's fucking good. It's got everything you want. It's well made, well written, well acted. There's hot chicks, there's hot dudes, there's hot gay chicks, there's hot gay dudes, there's hot straight dudes, there's hot straight chicks, there's hot bi chicks. There's like,
Got everything.
every type of character that you gravitate towards is in the show, and
Yeah.
they're all badass. So I mean, that was a great show to be on, and I enjoyed every moment of it.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was a really cool thing that you got to be a part of. And actually, it's funny because now the cool thing is to do one season of a show and get killed at the end, like White
Oh, is
Lotus.
it?
You know, like
Yeah, oh
White
yeah,
Lotus.
yeah. Yeah, oh yeah.
Everyone kind of goes into these shows now knowing it's a one season gig. So like you were again ahead of the curve with Animal
Yeah.
Kingdom.
Yeah, I
That's
gotta
pretty
hit it
cool.
on the I gotta time it better from now on.
Yeah, no, or you're starting the trend, maybe. We don't know. But then after Animal Kingdom, then here's another list 2019 to 2023. We're almost up to today. Again, you booked a lot of shows: The Rookie, All Rise, SEAL Team, 911 Lone Star, NCIS, the original this time, Station 19, which is the Grey's Anatomy spinoff, Big Sky, Chicago Fire, Fire Country, Jack Ryan with John Krasinski on Amazon Prime, and of course Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story on Netflix, which was huge. When you hear that list, are you like, oh my god, I did a lot of shows in a short amount of time?
Fucking A, yeah. Like
It's a lot of work.
most of those were one-offs, but a few of them I did arcs in
Yeah,
multiple episodes. But yeah, it's like, look, when acting's your only job, and I'm especially then I'm no household name, so you got to keep the lights on, and also it keeps your teeth sharp doing those
it's
one-offs
cool. I
and
think
or
it's
those
awesome.
short arcs. And yeah, and yeah, I remember I actually the rookie I actually shot that a couple weeks before I started on Animal Kingdom.
Oh, really?
And yeah. And that was one of those rare times where it was just offered to me. I didn't have to audition, and I could count the times that that's happened on one of my hands. And
Hmm.
another time it happened was with Shooter.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
that
That's
was
exciting.
offered, and I got to say that Robert Ulrich, he's a huge casting director. He's one of my dear friends because he produced this movie I was in called Billy Boy.
Yeah,
Um, and he's like casting director of Glee and all the American Horror Stories and Shooter, and he's always been very he's always thought very highly of me as an actor, and he's been integral into getting me a lot of these straight offers when I've got them. And yeah, he's
that's
another
major.
invaluable person to have in my life.
Yeah, it's kind of cool when you trace it back like this. You see all these people that
Fuck, did
had,
I
had a
forgot about
lot
all
of,
that?
yeah, a lot of influence and a lot of
And then
powers. Saw something in you.
Dahmer was the first thing I did after COVID.
Dahmer was huge. So let's talk about that. That was produced by Ryan Murphy.
Uh-huh.
Massive hit on Netflix. It seemed like everybody
Yeah.
in the world watched that. It actually spawned a whole franchise that continued with the
Yeah.
Menendez brothers, and now they'll just keep finding killers. But Evan Peters, who I'm friendly with, he played Jeffrey Dahmer. He won or got nominated for every award for that role. Niecy Nash as well. Emmys, Golden Globe, SAG, Critics' Choice, People's Choice. And you were in scenes with Evan Peters. What was that like? He's Jeffrey Dahmer, like fully immersed in that role.
He deserved all the award buzz he got or whatever awards he won because
Yeah,
I remember thinking to myself, I'm glad I'm not playing Jeffrey Dahmer because it he was in quite a place. He's a great actor, and like I remember there were certain moments doing scenes with him where he sent chills up my spine,
wow,
sent chills up Grant's spine, like it had nothing to do with my performance or anything. It was like he was so there, and the sets were so elaborate that it was very easy to suspend your disbelief in
totally.
that it was a set, like and it was just like, dude, this guy is there. And the shoot went way over schedule. I was supposed to be in more episodes, but I went and did Emancipation, and I shaved my head for that. So I mean, there
Uh,
was no way I could have come and
done
done
both.
another episode. And so he went from thinking he was going to do it for 3 months in that headspace to, I think it pushed up to 6 months. And
Mm.
it was like, I was like, this dude's going to be in therapy after this experience,
It
because he
was
was in a
so.
dark, dark place.
It was actually hard to watch. Like it was a hard show to watch because it was so real and so dark and so
I
like
didn't watch it. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it was so anxiety inducing.
yeah.
I have a hard time with shows like that.
Mm, interesting. Right, but you were there when it
Yeah.
was happening. And that
Yeah.
cast too. Richard Jenkins played Jeffrey Dahmer's father. He's so good. And Molly Ringwald played Jeffrey Dahmer's stepmother, who was also Shailene Woodley's mom on Secret
I
Life of the
actually
American
did not
Teenager.
know that Molly Ringwald was even in Dahmer. She is?
Yeah, she's
Holy shit.
the stepmom. Yeah. So it's
She's
funny.
lovely.
She's
Yeah.
iconic. I know. We grew up like all the John Hughes movies,
Yeah.
grew up with her. And then she was, the mom on Secret Life and then the
I
stepmom.
must have done a million scenes with her in Secret Life, because the
How
girl who
incredible.
was I was playing the boyfriend of was also her daughter.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's so
that's
cool.
wild.
Yeah. And so the guy you played in Dahmer was a real guy, right?
Yep.
Officer Mueller, like based
Yep.
on a true
Officer
story.
me and Mac, the other cop, they were real guys that really stumbled upon this serial killer one night
Unbelievable.
in Milwaukee. Yeah.
That's
Yeah, it
crazy.
was I think they slightly creatively adjust the names and
Mm,
appearances. So I think Mac was playing the officer that I more looked like, and I was
mm.
playing the one that he more looked like, but in real
Interesting.
life. But I think it was just kind of like as a way to not nail it on the head, because those guys, after they dealt with that, they really didn't want to talk about it for the rest of their
I
lives.
bet.
They didn't want to be bothered with it. These are just like Milwaukee blue collar cops that
Totally.
stumble upon this fucking crazy murderer. Yeah.
Crazy. Did you hear from a lot of people that watched it say
A
like,
lot of people
oh,
didn't know that that was me.
oh
Like,
no way.
my appearance is like slightly altered, and
Oh, that's interesting.
but yeah, like sometimes people would, I mean, you would be like, "Hey, have you seen Dahmer?" And I'd be like, "Not exactly. Have I seen it? I've
Right.
read it." And they're like, "Oh, you should watch it, dude." I'm like, "You've watched it?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, yeah, watch it. I watched every episode." I'm like, "All right." And I wait, and they're like, I'm in it, right? And they like these are friends. These aren't random people. But
Yeah.
they'd be like, "You're in it? Oh fuck, it is you. I
That's
know.
so
Yeah, you're
funny.
the cop. What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, whatever. It's
Yeah, you have
common, I guess."
the cop uniform throws them off. That's so funny.
Yeah, and the fucking conservative haircut and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny. Well, right after that, Emancipation, starring Will Smith, came out on Apple TV Plus. That came out December 2022. Takes place in the 1860s. He, like you said before, plays a runaway slave. You play a character called Leeds, who's a Confederate soldier whose job it is to guard the slaves at the railroad camp
Right.
so that they don't escape. Really
Right.
intense movie. You're incredible in that. I remember I watched it like the day it came out, and I was just like, I cannot believe Grant did this role. Like it's that intense. Like
There is like not much comfortable about it, that's for sure. But
nothing comfortable about it. Yeah.
like here I am working with Will Smith, who, as I mentioned, we all grew up watching him from when we
Hmm.
were like 3 years old. Like
Yeah.
I've been watching him my whole life,
Totally.
and mind you, this is pre him smacking Chris Rock,
Hmm.
which, as a person and knowing him for the time that I knew him, none of that was. I don't know where that came from, but like
Hmm.
as a man that I interacted with, he was wonderful.
Yeah.
And here I am stepping onto a set playing this evil fucking Confederate slave keeper. And, the first lines I'm saying to this guy that I grew up looking up to are hard N words and just real awful things.
Hmm.
And so the way I found my way into that was the way I reasoned it was the more I committed to the evil of what these guys did to generations and generations of people just because of the color of their skin, the way that if I am to give this guy any silver linings, if I'm to somehow find a way into showing him be conflicted or anything, I'm actually looking out for the dudes who enslaved these people. And so I was like, the more I commit to the evil of it, the more I hammer down on that, the more I'm honoring the actual people that were enslaved. And
Right.
so that rationalization made me very dedicated to the evil. I'm like, by being evil here, I'm honoring the people that should be honored and not
Interesting.
looking out for some asshole that's, oh yeah, but he was a slave keeper, but he was still a good guy. Like, I wanted to erase all that and be like,
Mm.
fuck him, honor the people that were enslaved. And so that was my way into committing to the evil of it, and it made it a lot less uncomfortable because I knew ultimately I was contributing to a story that honors the people that were enslaved who never got a life. And so and so I keep that with me, whenever I'm playing a particularly evil character. Then if you're actually honoring the people that were subject of their cruelty. And
Wow.
so that's a good way to find your way into it. Yeah, and it was a demanding ass shoot, and
I can't even imagine what that was like to shoot those scenes.
it was New Orleans, or the Bayou. It was like an hour drive out of New Orleans, and dead of summer, 100 degrees, like 90% humidity or something, and we were all wearing Era wool. And I mean, there was cooling tents everywhere, and you're constantly regulating your electrolytes, and they're taking your jacket off after every single take, and and none of the sweat in the movie is fake.
Right.
And yeah, and I will say there were moments that were particularly profound. I remember there's this one moment. It's a big wide shot, and these sets were some of the most beautiful sets I've ever seen. So elaborate and well constructed and immense, and just they go for days, and just the artfulness that was put into them,
Yeah.
and the hundreds of background performers. And so we're doing this wide shot, and I'm not the focus of it. I'm in it, but I think my back's to camera, and all production is behind me. And so I'm just looking at this giant, elaborate railroad camp set with hundreds of background performers committed to what they're doing. And it's a scene where Ben Foster's character drags a runaway slave into the camp behind a horse, and then ends up taking him off the rope, and then putting a brand that had been stoking in the fire just against his chin. And this guy John played that character. He's a fucking wonderful actor, and just a fucking force of nature on stage. Evidently, he was in Hamilton, and I mean, this dude's got like a voice that. Well, and this is how I learned it. Like he's a very quiet dude, and this is early in the shoot, and so I'm watching this scene unfold, and I could kind of watch it as Grant, because I think like I said, my back's to camera,
Right.
and I'm out of focus. And so I see Ben drag him in, takes him off the rope, and then takes this iron and sticks it against his face, and he lets out this blood curdling scream, and that penetrates you to the bone, and to see it all in person. So I think it was like the closest thing you could get to being in a time machine and seeing what actually fucking happened.
Right.
And like, it was utterly disturbing. It was utterly disturbing. And I'm like, this shit happened like 150 years ago. And
Right.
before that, for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years before that. And you're just watching it. And I remember after they said cut, I had to walk away for a second and recollect myself, because I was so disturbed by the fact that, like, it's one thing if you're shooting a movie and it's all fictional, and like it's like, none of this has really happened. But when you're shooting something like that, and then you're watching it and you don't see cameras and you don't see lights because they're all behind you, it's like, and you're seeing great actors perform it. It's pretty fucking accurate looking, and it was just disturbing, and that kind
Wow.
of defined the movie for me, and it reminded me of like what we're doing when you're doing a movie about something like that. Everyone's got a responsibility, and mine was to commit to the evil, and so you've got to do that. You can't make an evil guy an okay guy.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
You didn't want us to sympathize with him at all,
Fuck no, not
or
even a little bit.
or justify his behavior.
Zero. I wasn't about to do that at all. I
Wow.
didn't give a fuck if my character had kids at home. He's a good dad, whatever it was. It's like, this is what you did, and this is what you took part in. So you're guilty by association, dude.
Totally.
Like, fuck you. And so that's why I committed to the evil.
Yeah, it's an intense role for sure. It's an intense movie to watch. And so here's what I will say about the movie too is it came out after what, like you mentioned, the whole thing that happened at the Oscars. What's so ironic is that the Oscars in March 2022 should have been the pinnacle of Will Smith's life, the best night of
Yeah.
his life,
So
because he won
yeah,
Best Actor for King
he
Richard.
would have been the first black actor to win back-to-back leading Oscars, and it was a no. He was going. That was going to happen.
Well, so it was so interesting, right? Because he wins Best Actor in 2022. Everyone's like, wait till you see Emancipation next year.
Hmm.
He's gonna win again, or at least get nominated again. The movie would get nominated for Best Picture, but because of the slap with Chris Rock, like they just didn't push the movie the way they would
No,
have
they abandoned it,
otherwise.
and
Yeah, and so it didn't get on the
it
Oscar list because of
it
that.
literally went from doing 3,300 screens domestically and doing a wide international release, and to in theaters to doing 20 some selected theaters to qualify it for awards,
Hmm.
and all the marketing got pulled off of it and everything. And the real shitty part about that was there was a lot of up and comers in the movie,
Mm,
myself included. The guy with the great voice I told you about. I mean, everyone. Stephen Ogg, he's been around for a while and doing his thing, but and
yeah,
then Aaron Moten and all these Ronnie Gene Blevins, who's a great character actor, and all of these guys. We were essentially going to ride the coattails of Will all the way through awards season as he swept every single thing, and it was
right,
pretty difficult to show a clip of him. You're going to find your way into many clips being shown at the Oscars, the Golden Globes, all this
right,
shit,
right.
and that was a big opportunity for a lot of the younger actors in it. And when he slapped Chris Rock, it ended all that. And I remember watching the Oscars that year because we knew Will was going to win, and I mean, we were all as shocked as everybody else and in disbelief, and like this has to be a joke. Like,
Right.
but then you see Chris Rock, and you're like, that nothing against Chris Rock, I love him, but he can't act that good. Like that was like he was shook, and it was like,
Mm,
dude, this seems real.
yeah.
And then from that moment on, Emancipation went from being this important movie about the Emancipation Proclamation and slavery to being forgotten about and kind of
Mm,
just swept under the rug. And that made the whole experience, especially to like do such a heavy movie about such awful things and all that, and to
yeah.
have it and it's like it was like $150 million movie or something like that, and so for it to just disappear into the ether because of that one act of Will Smith, it sucked, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, though, as a man that I knew, in fact, I read his book and everything, and I mean, I could be an armchair psychiatrist about this and everything, but as someone who's been in therapy for so many years and all that, but in his book, he talks about how when he was a kid, he's always his insecurity has always been that he's a coward because when he was like 9 years old, he watched his father knock out his mother in the kitchen with a closed fist, and as a 9 year old, he just stood there frozen and didn't do anything to help his mother. And now,
Mm,
obviously, what 9 year old wouldn't freeze and become catatonic and
right.
have to see that? But Will says in his book that he thought he was a coward from that moment on, and I think so when he was taking shit for being soft or whatever, and so I think when that happened, I think he wasn't defending his wife. I think he was defending his mom in the most
Mm,
spectacular way ever, and I
interesting.
think that's what happens when you don't take care of things that are inside of you. You gotta get it out, otherwise it blows up like a volcano instead of a geyser.
Yeah. What was so wild about it was that it happened the night he's winning Best Actor.
Fucking
You
fuck, I
know,
know.
it was like, I think it was 40 minutes between the slap of Chris Rock and then winning Best Actor. And there was all this controversy, like, should he have been allowed to stay? But everyone knew he was winning because he had won everything leading up to
Yeah,
it. And so it's so interesting because there's this alternate timeline of the world where, like, he doesn't slap Chris Rock.
yeah.
He wins Best Actor. He's the most celebrated he's ever been. A year later, he's back at the Oscars with Emancipation. There's this whole other timeline without the slap where.
Well, yeah, there is, and I remember I could almost see it in a tangible sense because like
Mhm.
here you are, Oscars of that year, and then you know that obviously the supporting cast, we're not going to be going to the Oscars next year, but you have your publicists and shit, and you're going to be going to certain prestigious
No, but you would
events
if it
and
was
getting certain
nominated for
coverage.
best.
And
If it's nominated for best picture, the cast does go. You would have gone.
yeah, so then maybe would have been there. And so it was crazy to see all these tentative plans for the following award season just evaporate. And then
It's
all of a sudden it was just silence in regards to you. And there's like, it was a massive disappointment for a lot of the supporting cast and crew because that was a huge opportunity for a lot of us. And because he did that, it all just went away. And so it was just massively disappointing. And it was kind
mm,
of like, okay, got this huge studio movie with Will Smith, and now no one's going to see it, and really no one did see it except for cinephiles and
I saw
people that watch
it.
everything
I
like
saw
you
it.
and me,
Yeah.
and yeah, but
Did people ever
and
come up
that
to
and
you about
also
that movie? Did people ever mention it to you?
it's another movie where I don't think people recognize me
Hmm.
oh, that's the dude who's in Emancipation, just because I look
Different. Yeah.
different, and I bleached my eyebrows, and just to make myself help try to look as despicable as I was on the inside as well,
Yeah.
and so I don't get recognized from that movie a lot, but also I don't think a lot of people saw that movie. Every time I bring that movie up to most people, like especially outside of our business, they've never seen it. And also,
Wow.
it's not a movie you run to see. It's not like
No.
you're trying to watch Schindler's List over again.
Right.
It's like one of those movies that you watch once or twice and then you're good for life. It's
Right.
like
I wonder actually if they had held it another year or so, or even a couple years, till things died down. Maybe.
I think there's a million different scenarios we can all go through, and I'm
Yeah.
sure Will, if he could redo that night, he
Oh well,
would.
yeah. If you could redo the night for sure, but even
But
I think
then even
nine.
the
Yeah, nine
yeah
months was a quick turnaround for that
on
movie.
Apple's end, how big companies like that work. I think it's all planned out on this fiscal quarterly thing, and
Hmm.
I do remember hearing something of they had another huge movie coming out for award season the following year. Oh, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Right.
And
Right.
so because they had that coming out the very next award season, they couldn't release both movies during an award season,
I see. Yeah.
and be competing with each other and
Mm.
finding a weekend to open it and everything. So I think that's probably the reasoning that they just buried it. And
Wow.
but yeah, that was a fucking giant, giant, giant disappointment. And you felt as an actor like, oh shit, now I'm starting at square one again. Like
Wow.
that was my very first big studio movie. I'd only done indie movies up until that point, and so for my first studio movie to be just single-handedly destroyed because of something that happened utterly outside of the movie was
Right.
crazy.
You would
And it,
never see that coming.
yeah, and then there's like ironic, weird parallels about Will slapping Chris, and the movie that has coming out the next year is about slavery, and
Mm.
it's like there's all these different things, and I think probably Apple was like, how are we supposed to fix this? How
Yeah.
are we supposed to fix this? The criticism and it hurt Will really bad. I think it
Yeah.
seems.
Like you never would have thought like your Will Smith movie would be unreleasable a year
Never in a
later.
million years of
Ever.
all the actors that I would think would do something crazy like that, I would put Will at the bottom of that list, not the
Right.
top. But
Right.
hey,
Well, maybe people will find it now, like enough time has passed, maybe that people can. It's on Apple, like people
yeah, and
can watch it.
it's a beautiful movie, and
Yeah,
especially the photography in it. Like Bob Richardson, dude, he's a legend, and
yeah, he is.
it was surreal to be in front of his cameras and seeing him operating. Like holy shit, I'm through the
Yeah,
viewfinder of a Bob Richardson camera. Like that was fucking crazy.
right. So yeah, you can take that with you from the experience,
Hmm.
the people you got to
Yeah,
work with.
but I will say, working on such a heavy movie, after a few days, it was the most funny, hilarious joke around set you've ever been on when the actors were at our chairs in between setups and takes and stuff. Because I think it became clear to us that the subject matter was so heavy that when you got back to your chairs, you let all that go, and it was
Yeah,
all laughs, because I don't think it's sustainable to be on a movie that big and that shoots for that long about such a heavy subject matter, uh, to take that back to your chairs, or let alone to the hotel. Like
Exactly.
you would become clinically depressed, and so we were just constantly laughing our ass. Some of the hardest I've ever laughed was in our chairs in between takes and setups with everybody.
Wow. That's it.
Yeah,
That's nice. That's good to
yeah.
imagine.
I made some good
Um,
friends off of it too.
exactly. Well, that's the other thing. Like the experience you had on it will always be different from the finished product or what happened with the
Yeah,
movie after. Like you'll have two separate experiences as like
yeah,
the shooting of it. And so the next movie that you have is Hotel Tehran. Is that still the
oh
name?
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
you and Liam Neeson and Zach Levi. What can you tell about that movie? Can you talk about
That
it?
movie's good, man. It's a solid movie. I think it's going to come out next year.
Okay.
It's about CIA ground operators, like ground branch is what they call it, I think. And it's, guys that used to be special operators in the Navy and Army and stuff, and after they're done with that, or they're not, they're more experienced. The CIA sometimes recruits them up to be operators on their end for clandestine missions and shit. And so,
Right.
so Zach Levi's character, on some operation 10 years before, they're in Tehran, and he learns of in some wall of this hotel, there's $50 million, and he kind
Mm.
of forgets about it and goes out of country, and then continues doing his job, and then we go on an op, and then 10 years later we go on this op, and shit goes bad, and we get into this crazy firefight with the Taliban, and
Wow.
guys get hurt, and guys get taken out of doing this for a living because they get so hurt, things like that, and shit goes south, and then they kind of get thrown under the bus for the operation, and no one's allowed to do what they do anymore because of that. And so they know, we know about all of us operators know about this $50 million, and so plan an operation on our own to go get that $50 million, so that we can disperse it amongst ourselves and give it to the guys that got hurt to help pay for their life, guys who lose legs or whatever in that
Right.
fight. And then Liam Neeson is the CIA agent who's kind of orchestrating all of it, and he's kind of like
Amazing.
what's the dude in The Usual Suspects,
Kaiser Soze.
Kaiser Soze, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like that kind of a character in this, where
Oh wow.
you never know what, if you're getting reality or not from him. And good movie, shot it in Mississippi and the country of Georgia,
Mm.
uh, which is funny because, like, when I got the part, it was like it said shoots in Mississippi and Georgia, and so the natural inclination is like, oh, Atlanta, we're shooting in Atlanta and Mississippi. And
Yeah.
then I remember passing
Actually,
my
I think you
agent.
told me that when we were talking
Yeah,
about the movie I was doing. You're like, well, I think I have to be in Georgia. And then
yeah.
like you wrote me back, you're like, wait, it's Georgia the country.
Yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah,
like,
yeah. So
you're like, I can't
Patrick
do
was
it.
like, remember your passport, and I was like, why do I need to bring my passport
Oh
to
my God.
Georgia? And he goes, I knew it. You're going to the country of Georgia. You're not going to the state of Georgia. I was like, where the fuck is the country of Georgia? I remember it in the news like 15 years ago when Russia invaded them, but where the fuck is it? And
That's
so,
funny.
yeah, that's where we did, because it's got a topography that looks a lot like Iran, because it's
Mm.
pretty close to Iran. So
Wow.
that was where we shot it.
Wow. That's so cool. So
It's a
Liam,
good. It should be a good movie though. The directors seemed good, and all the cast were amazing.
yeah, I
Like,
was gonna say you're definitely on a roll with co-stars
yeah,
from Will Smith to Ben Affleck to Liam Neeson. Like
Liam,
it's no
yeah,
joke.
and Zach, and then all the other operators. Wes Chatham,
Mm.
who's he's one of my favorite people now. I love him, and Augusto Aguilar, and
Hmm.
Quincy Nash, who Jake, who is in a lot of good stuff. Quincy plays Magic Johnson in that basketball show,
Winning time. Yeah.
Winning Time. And dude, those guys, we've spent so much time together that I'll be friends with them forever. Those guys are all great. It was
That
awesome to spend it with a bunch of guys that are kind of similar to you.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say that's one of the nice things is like you're always making new friends on every set, so you're
Hmm.
just like constantly each job collecting new friends. Like,
Kind of, and then once you start to get people get a vibe for what you start to play, the types of parts that you play, you end up being surrounded by guys that are also kind of like you, and
right.
so it's just, yeah, it's pretty fun.
That's cool. That's
And
amazing.
it was a good experience and great producers. And I'm interested to see how it turns out
Yeah, I want to see
because
that.
it's an ambitious movie and technically it's an indie, even though it's a
Mm,
$35 million indie.
wow.
Um, and so it was shocking that they were able to do what they did with $35 million. I mean, we were on C-17s, real C-17s, like
Wow.
at military airports and like all this shit. And fun
That's gonna be
ass
great.
gunfights where we had full blanks and multiple mags. So we were changing them. We did masters of whole battles. And so you're changing mags and everything. And
Wow.
it was pretty much every dude dreams of like being in gun shooting movies, and it was like the pinnacle of that. It was super fun.
Right. You've been shooting a lot of guns lately.
I know, I know.
We got to get you back into
I
comedy.
said in an interview, I was like, it's crazy how acting has actually made me pretty decent with firearms. I
I'm
would have
sure.
never in a million years anticipated that, but it makes sense.
Exactly. Right. And so was Hotel Tehran the last thing you did, or you did a show in between, right?
No, I did Hotel Tehran at the end of last year into December, and then I started on a show on Amazon called Countdown, which isn't out yet, and
Right.
so I come along in the middle of season one and go through the season into season two, which I don't know when we're going to shoot that, but
Oh,
it's
wow.
weird. I play I play a sniper in that, and
You're getting typecast.
it's Amazon MGM too, which is crazy because that's what did the accountant.
So
And
they had seen it. Is that what got you the job, do you think?
I thought that initially. I did think that initially, but I was like, this makes sense. It's vertical integration. They saw me play a sniper. They're like, he's crazy. Like, let's have him play this part. And but when I got to set and I started to fill it out with the showrunners and shit, it became pretty evident that that was not the case. And in
Interesting.
fact, the director Rashidi, who directed the first episode I was in, he was like, "Dude, you were my choice." And then when I got the choice audition sent to me in a file, you weren't in them. And
Mm,
so I reached out to the whole team, like, "Where's Grant Harvey? I liked his audition. I want to put my vote in for him." And so then they added me to the choices because of this director,
wow.
and then everyone ended up signing off on me. I won't mention, you know, the casting or whatever, or why I wasn't in that batch of choices, but it's nice when uh, the artist makes the
Yes.
clear decision and everyone signs off on it,
And
not for whatever other bullshit reasons, you know.
yeah, and that he spoke
So
up,
then
you
I was
know.
like, I guess this had nothing to do with Amazon MGM, having seen the accountant too. I mean, I was like, okay, it made sense that that was the case, but I don't think it was.
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
I texted Gavin O'Connor. I was like, dude, I just got this show. It's Amazon MGM, and I'm playing a sniper. And he goes, you know, he had no idea either. He's like, oh, that's cool. Like, da, da, da. And
That's
then,
wild.
so I finished that, and then I'm about to go to Atlanta to do this beautiful movie with Tim Blake Nelson
Yes.
directing, and he wrote it. And man, oh man, that guy is an impressive dude because his script is so tight and beautiful and poetic, and yet that matches his quality as an actor and as a director. Because I've this is the second movie I've done with Tim. He didn't direct per se the first movie I did with him a couple of years ago called "Asleep in My Palm,"
Mm,
but but his son directed it, and it was his son's first time directing. And Tim is the lead actor in that movie, and so you know you saw Tim's ability, his directing inclinations, because he
mm.
was, you know, his son directed it, but he was there and like helping him through things that he didn't expect. And I was like, ah, Tim's a good director. And if you've seen, what's that, something Grass movie he did about 12 years ago, he directed that. And so he's as good of a director too. And I know he's going to direct the shit out of this movie. And it's going to be awesome. And it's like me, Scoot McNairy, and Amanda Seyfried. Amanda's the
Oh
lead.
yeah, great
Yeah,
cast. Oh, I love
great
Amanda.
cast. Yeah, Missy Pyle. I'm forgetting. I haven't really looked at who else was cast because it just all kind of happened. But yeah, it's a
When does that
enormously
start?
depressing movie,
When does that
but
start
also
filming?
beautiful. I fly out probably May 1st
Nice.
and
What's it
start
called?
shooting.
What's the script
It's
called?
called The Life and Death of Wilson Shedd.
Nice. How cool. That sounds like a great
Yeah,
one. That also sounds like a nice departure from the gunman for a while.
yeah. It's heavy though. It's
Mm.
heavy. It's a heavy movie.
Does is Eric Dane in Countdown?
Yeah,
Oh, he is. Yeah, he's a
yeah,
friend of mine.
yeah. I
Yeah.
never did scenes with him, but
Oh, you didn't?
yeah, Danny Minnick, is a friend of mine. He's a skater artist guy,
Oh yeah.
and he's friends with Eric. And so, like the last day on set on the last episode we were shooting, I went into the trail to Eric's trailer with Danny, and I met him and talked to him for a second. And I just saw some headline that he's got some
Mm, yeah.
ailment. Is that
Yeah.
true?
That's what I heard. Yeah. He's a
Yeah.
friend of mine. I've known him for like 20 years. I have to have him on the podcast too. Get his story. He's got a great one. He's been on he's like you. He's like always working, show
Just
after
banging
show.
around, yeah, and
Yeah.
then he finally has his moment, and it's pretty cool.
Mm.
Yeah, I was, yeah, it was either I was going to do Countdown or season 3 of Euphoria, and
Oh, really?
yeah, I obviously didn't get it,
He's
but
in
it was
both.
close, and that would have been cool to show up and meet him there. But
Yeah,
Countdown's a good
exactly.
show. It's going to be good. Yeah, it'll come out this summer, I think. And Jensen Ackles is one of the leads.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, and so this was the third show I've done with him. But actually,
Right.
this was the first time I stuck around. It wasn't. I
Right.
did a one-off on Big Sky, and he was the lead of that. And then I did a one-off on Supernatural. And so yeah, he and I have done a lot together now. It's kind of crazy.
It's cool. I do love that you're always working. You're always doing something cool, which is really nice, especially when you hear about how you started in those first few years.
Yeah, I'm fucking very grateful for that because at this point I don't know what the fuck I do.
No, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Is acting still as fun for you now as when you started?
Yeah, and I think it's a little more fun now because when I first started out, it was actually I was still enjoyed it and I knew I was doing what I was meant to be doing, but it's a
Mm,
lot less stressful now.
yeah.
When you're a little more established and you walk into something and people know that you've been working a long time and it relieves some of the stress and anxiety you put on yourself when you step onto a project. So it's actually more fun now because you're a little more at home and you're not getting in your head about shit and stuff and you know
Right.
how to deal with directors and you know that if they move on you're fine. You don't go up and say, hey, was that okay? Like it's like you're just like,
Exactly.
okay, cool, great, all right, bye.
Yeah. I've heard you say before too that you never get bored on set because you're just so grateful to be there, and I feel the exact same way.
I don't. And I did a commencement speech for the New York Film Academy a few years ago.
Oh wow.
First of all, I was like, how many people said no to this before you got to me? And I'm like, also, you know that I never went to drama school, right? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, all right. And you know that I'm a college dropout, right? They're like,
Well,
yeah.
only
And
by one semester.
I'm like, all right. So you want me to give the commencement speech though? I'm like, I'll do it. And I remember in the car ride to where the graduation was, when last minute you think of some of your best stuff. And
Hmm.
so I had the speech written and then I was like, oh, I'm going to finish it with bullet points to leave the graduating class with as they go on into the business and start auditioning and shit. And one of the many bullet points I left them with was like, if you can, don't take your phone to set. Leave that shit in the trailer. Any
Good
good
one.
director or filmmaker, it's never going to be good for you when they see you on your phone in your chair. And look, a lot of actors have their phones on set, and it is a convenient thing. And things work differently for everybody. But me personally, I leave my phone in the trailer because there's no place I'd rather be than a set that I'm working on.
Yeah.
And so the last thing I'm going to do is check out by going on Instagram or whatever, or checking my phone, and which is a window to real life. And so I leave that shit in my trailer and I go and I sit there and I'm present because I love being there. And yeah, I'm never bored on a set.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I'm a big advocate of like there's no such thing as boredom, only boring people.
Mm-hmm.
And like and I think that kind of insult is for anyone who says ever I'm bored, like it makes you self-aware of like, all right, well, figure it out. Make yourself not bored. You only get to live for a certain amount of years on this earth, and then you don't get to live again. And so, like, maybe don't do it staring into your phone, worrying about people that don't know you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And so and also it helps with my focus. If I found that looking at my phone makes me struggle more when I walk to my mark to do a scene. And
Mm.
if I'm just sitting in my chair doing nothing like a psychopath, like just sitting there and just twiddling my thumbs, I'm mostly focusing on the scene.
Right.
And so that by the time I'm called to set, I'm right there. I'm in the pocket and I'm ready to go. And So yeah, so that was one of the bullet points I left him with. I also left him with, like, hang up your clothes and make them perfect the way you found them when you get back to your trailer. And when you step onto a set, always remind yourself that literally everyone you see, all the crew, they've been on their feet standing since crew call. And when you leave and you go back to your trailer, your comfy, cozy trailer, they will continue to stand on their feet working until the end of the day. And like, never forget that, like, because you're all cozy and comfortable sitting in your trailer watching TV, doing whatever you're doing, and they're working their asses off. And I left them with that. And I also left them with, don't ask the director if that was okay. If the director moves on, it was okay.
Yeah,
As
that's a
as
great
hard as
one.
it is, and look, I'm guilty of it. I think we all are. But I really actively try to never do that,
Yeah,
because it shows the director you trust him, and because the director will tell you if he wants to do it, if he or she wants you to do it again.
exactly. That's great advice. Before we go, I always like to ask my guests, what advice do you have for someone who dreams of having a career like yours?
I would say, don't worry about the bullshit. Care about the important things like the work, and truly enjoy doing it. And don't care about the residual effects. Like, who gives a fuck about premieres? Who gives a fuck about being famous? Who gives a fuck about being recognizable? Who gives a fuck about getting the credit? If you focus and train yourself to care about the work that you do, and then you work hard at being good at it, I think if you work hard enough at being good at acting or whatever it is you're doing in film, it's inevitable that you will start working eventually. But you just got to keep at it, and you can't be impatient, because God knows, like, the only thing you can control is how hard you work at your craft, and everything else you can't control. And so focus on that and get so good that eventually someone will pluck you out of obscurity and give you a shot. And then I feel like that's one tangible way to go about it, because otherwise we're in a business that nothing's tangible. I don't think anyone has the same story about how they got their first break or whatever. It's always different. And so just, I guess if it was in one line, I would say, if this is what you want to do, work hard at it and learn to work hard in the right way.
I love that. Yeah, that's great advice. And it's so true to like be so good that they have to notice you. That's a pretty.
Dude, it's so funny you say this. Look at this
What do you have?
right here.
Oh no! Come on,
Yeah,
be
my
so good
mom.
they can't ignore you. Steve Martin, who I love, by the
Yeah,
way.
my mom gave this to me as a stocking stuffer like 10 years ago.
That gave me chills because I almost didn't say it, and then I said
I'm glad you did, because
it.
I think that there's no truer words than that. Be so good that they can't ignore you, and a way to get so good is to work hard and train yourself to be good.
What a great quote. Oh, I love
Fucking
that.
A, right? Yeah.
So the very last thing we do is called the mystery question,
All
which is
right.
so here's episode 75. So what happened is I started this episode one, where I have the guest from my podcast leave a question for the next guest.
Oh,
So it's cool. So I've connected all 75 episodes have been connected by like a final question, and so in person I used to have them write it out and seal it in an envelope. Now I have them email it, I print it without reading it, seal it, and even I don't know what it is, and that's how I end every episode. So the last episode I did was with my friends Cherry and Teresa, who wrote that movie Joyride,
oh,
the like R-rated comedy.
yeah.
They also write for Family Guy. So they sent me a mystery question for whoever my next guest would be, which is now you, and I'll read that, and then you'll send me a question for whoever my
Got
next
it.
guest. You don't have to come up with it on the fly. You can send it to
Thank
me.
you, because I was like, my brain was racing. I'm like, what can I fucking
No,
ask
no,
that
no.
everyone doesn't say?
So the question from them
This will
from the
be good
last.
because they're writers and
That's
directors,
true.
so this
It's
will be
actually
great.
this is
Yeah.
a good one. I'm curious what you're going to say. What's a piece of advice you ignored and are glad that you did?
I have a great answer for that. A piece of advice that I ignored. I mean, it's a shades of it. It's not a black and white answer. It's a gray answer. But the piece of advice that I ignored was, it's all about who you know. Now, let me explain. Like, that's actually, that is true. But I think when you say that to people, they put it in the context of, oh, you met this dude at a party, or you met this dude at a gym, you met this chick there, and so now you know them. That's not what's valuable. in when people say it's all about who you know, it's all about who you know in a working context. So, like, for example, it's recent. So, Gavin O'Connor, he and I now know each other. But the reason we know each other is because we both did good work for each other. And so now he's never going to forget me. I'm never going to forget him. And so, in that context, it is about who you know. But people need to stop making it about it's just generically no. Like no one in a restaurant goes, "I'm going to make you a star, kid. I just met you." It's not like that. It's like you work with someone, you do a little
Right.
guest star for someone, and now they know you and they see that you're good. Or same with a gaffer, or the same with a DP, or whatever it is. It's the people you know through a working relationship, not through just generic knowing. So that's what I ignored. I just refined it. I hope that's a pretty good answer to that.
No, it's a great answer because yeah, it's how they know you too.
Yeah, it's how they know you. You can't just take that statement for what it is because it's not true. But it is true, but it's not true in the way that most people think of it.
Right. And that's why you always have to conduct yourself in a certain way. Like you said, be polite to everybody, know
Yeah.
everybody's name, treat everybody equally because,
And it's a lot easier to be nice to people than it is to be a dick to people.
it's
Like
so
that
much
takes so
easier.
much mental bandwidth to be a dick.
Right.
Because you're thinking about it later and all this shit. It's like just be nice and then at the end of the day you sleep better and it's easier.
100%. It costs
Yeah, and
nothing to
then
be kind to people. I've
costs
always
nothing.
I've always said I'd rather have everybody say that I was nice to them and it takes me longer to get where I'm going than for people to say I wasn't nice
Yeah.
and get there faster. I would rather
I
take the long route.
I feel like by being nice, once you do start working or whatever, and you stay around longer too, because who doesn't like nice people? And I
Yeah,
have noticed too, the bigger the project you're doing, the nicer and kinder the people and more gentle the people tend to be that you're working with because they're at the top of their game. They love what they do, and you rarely encounter someone who's a dick.
how interesting. Right, because they're
Yeah,
happy to be there. They're in a good
yeah,
mood.
yep,
That's awesome. What a great note, positive note to leave on. So
yeah,
that is a wrap on episode 75. We did it. Thank you, Grant, for doing this.
yeah, dude. Thanks for having me. This is cool.
It was fun. Yeah, a little trip through time. I
I
actually
can't
didn't,
wait to see it.
yeah, I didn't know some of those stories, so that was cool. The Accountant 2 is in theaters as of April 25th. So go see it. If you love the first one, you'll love the second one. Grant, as always, I look forward to seeing what you do next. And
Thanks, man. And
thank
I'll
you.
see you. We'll be hanging out in no time.
I
So,
know. We'll probably
uh,
do something this week. But, or actually, no,
yeah,
you're going to be at your hometown premiere. But when you get back,
yeah.
when you get back from your hometown premiere,
Thanks, Mom.
we'll download
Yeah,
everything that's gone on in the last few weeks. But
sounds good.
thank you again for doing this. Thank you everybody for listening, and I will talk to you next time.